Chapter 327. Ninetales was infuriated by Naruto's disdain. Thus, he decided to ignore Naruto. Naruto, on the other hand, could not be bothered with him. Ninetales' suggestion was simply unreliable. It was not even worth considering. Did he think the human pillar force was a radish in his backyard? That he could take away whatever he wanted? Although Naruto had always been a narcissist, he knew his limits. Going to the lightning country to kidnap a tailed beast was more suicidal than hanging himself. The earth whale returned to the hot spring hotel. Bringing Zero with him, they loaded up a lot of equipment for the picnic. Next, they headed to the scenic spot with mountains and rivers. Naruto's idea was good. However, he soon encountered a problem. He was currently using a clone. How was he going to eat with everyone? 07. Why aren't you eating? Perhaps it was because he was a mercenary or because he was an orphan, but the guild leader did not eat elegantly at all. He held a roasted, golden brown rabbit leg the size of 2 palms and stuffed it into his mouth. His mouth was filled with oil. Naruto said half-heartedly, You guys eat first. Eat first? I'll roast that for you guys first. Naruto's clone could not smell the aroma of wild game. However, from the lustrous color of the rabbit leg, he could more or less taste the firm meat between his teeth. It was a delicacy. He was somewhat envious. However, he was only a clone. He would not let it go to waste. However, this trick would only work for a while. As time passed, everyone's persuasion only grew more intense. 04 could no longer bear to watch. She finally brought out the airs of a big sister. 07, you should eat some too. Otherwise, we'll be too embarrassed to eat. After saying that, she turned to 05. Go switch places with 07. Let 07 come over and eat something. 05 obediently stood up. However, after taking 2 steps, he turned around and pouted at 04. Why don't you go? You only know how to order me around. 04 said matter-of-factly. Because you're the weakest. 05 felt as though his face had received 10,000 points of damage. Little brother 007, let me do it. You go and eat something. Naruto still wanted to refuse, but when he saw everyone looking at him, he could only comply. But how was a clone supposed to eat? Here, number 7. This rabbit is the most evenly roasted. The president handed Naruto a rabbit leg that was glistening with oil. Naruto took it, and took a bite. He was not used to it. He chewed a few times and swallowed it. As he ate he praised, "It's delicious. This rabbit is quite tender." Nonsense, what kind of meat could harden in the mouth of a rock? Ninetales saw the scene in front of him through the mental link. Because Naruto was using a clone, he did not share any of the taste with it. It could only stare blankly and unconsciously began to smack its lips. At the same time, it imagined how the meat would taste. This meat looks like it should be delicious. Naruto also smacked his lips. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The rabbit leg went into his stomach. At the same time, Naruto did not notice that steam was coming out of his mouth. It was as if the water in a kettle was boiling. Because Naruto's clone was straight from the mouth to the stomach, it was like a vase with a big belly. Not only was the meat hot, but it was also very fragrant. The first to notice was 04. That 07. If it's too hot, you can eat it slowly. Naruto politely said, "It's not hot, it's not hot." Zero handed a freshly processed rabbit meat to 05. When he turned around, he also saw the strange scene in Naruto's mouth. He asked curiously, "Steam coming out of his mouth? Is he practicing ninjutsu?" Only then did Naruto notice the problem. He quickly changed the structure of his body and sealed the food in his stomach. Only then did the steam stop coming out. He laughed and said, "Ahahaha, that's a water release ninjutsu. I'm just spitting out a few mouthfuls of steam." Ha 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 ha. Naruto felt very embarrassed. At this time, Ninetales finally couldn't help but ask, "Can't you summon your main body for a meal?" Naruto bluntly replied, "You're an idiot, I'm an idiot. My soul is not in my body, so I can't control it at all." Naruto tried it before. Unlike his clone can be controlled through the spiritual link, but his body can't. Once the soul turns into a spirit and drains out of the body will completely lose the ability to move. If not for this, he wouldn't have thrown his body into the corpse coffin and used his clone to come out of it. Ninetales closed his mouth. He was hesitating whether to tell Naruto that he can control the body when Naruto's soul is not in the body. In his imagination, if Naruto didn't find out, he was going to wait for the right time to control Naruto's body and run away. But if he didn't tell, at this time, the president brought Naruto something delicious. This time it was a grilled fish, which was also grilled to a golden color. This was the result of adding some wine when grilling it. Naruto had eaten it before, so Ninetales knew that it was really delicious. Especially with the best caviar. The taste, Ninetales couldn't help but shout. "Wait! Don't eat it!" Naruto was startled. His instinctive reaction was that the food was poisonous, but then he reacted. It's a clone, so why is Ninetales so agitated? Unable to understand, he put down the fish and asked Ninetales, "What's wrong with you?" Ninetales closed his mouth and his face turned round. He was still a little hesitant. At this time, the president urged, "What? You don't like fish? It's wrong to be picky." Naruto laughed and said, "I'm not picky. I just want to take another look at the fish before eating. By the way, this fish looks really good." The president rolled his eyes. "You grilled it yourself. If you don't eat it, it'll get cold. You can't even forget to be narcissistic while eating. I give up." Grilled it himself? That's awkward. Naruto felt that his rock clone was about to be embarrassed. The president is looking at me. Then, let's eat. Naruto was about to pretend to be a normal person and eat the fish when Ninetales shouted again. "Wait! Put down the fish." The startled Ninetales made Naruto so angry that he almost flipped the table. The consciousness projection flew into a rage at Ninetales. "Can't you let me eat in peace? What are you doing? Speak." Still not speaking. Ninetales' round face finally vented its anger and said, "It's a waste for you to eat this fish. You're just a clone. How can you eat anything?" Just as Naruto was about to say something to Ninetales such as, "I want to eat it, but I'm also very desperate," Ninetales finally spoke. Ninetales finally said, "I'll eat it. Summon your body and I'll control your body to eat." Naruto was surprised. It was the first time he knew that Ninetales could control his body. "You can control my body?" Ninetales nodded vaguely in the sealed space of Ninetales. Naruto said warily, "When did this happen? Why haven't I heard you mention it?" Ninetales said perfunctorily, "You didn't ask me." Then he urged, "Hurry up. Don't waste time. The fish will get cold soon." Chapter 328. Naruto found a random excuse to leave. He found a secluded place and summoned the corpse coffin that contained his main body. The corpse coffin opened, and his main body woke up from hibernation. Then he sat up under Ninetales' control. "All right, I'm going to help you eat." Ninetales controlled his main body to leave. Naruto quickly called out, "Wait! When did you find out that you can control your body?" Ninetales said vaguely, "Not long ago. After you learned spiritualization? Something like that." "Not long ago? Alright. If we're talking about time, I haven't been in this world for long. It hasn't even been a year." Naruto wanted to ask more questions. "Are you plotting to escape? Did you use my body to do something I don't know about?" But at this moment, the president came over. 007, while you were getting the seasoning. The president looked at the two Naruto in a daze and asked curiously, "Why did you use the cloning technique?" Naruto was about to speak, but Ninetales beat him to it. Nothing. I just suddenly wanted to practice." As he spoke, he swept his leg at Naruto's clone at lightning speed. Naruto didn't have time to say anything. All his words turned into two words. F***ck. Then he dispelled the clone as he collided with the trees one after another. The president didn't understand. "Do you need to be so violent to dispel the clone?" Ninetales replied, I just wanted to test the strength of the clone. It seems that there's still room for improvement." Ninetales was in a good mood. He had wanted to beat up Naruto for a long time. Although he only kicked a clone and Naruto felt the pain, he was still happy. One word to describe it was awesome. But when can I really beat up Naruto? Beat up Naruto. Wahahaha. Just thinking about it made Ninetails laugh out loud. This scene stunned the guild leader, who was watching from the side. Ninetails walked towards the dining area. He couldn't wait to have a big meal. At this moment, the president suddenly realized something and said, "That's right, 007, bring out another oven. It's not enough." Ninetails did not even turn his head as he shouted impatiently, "Take it yourself." This sentence scared the president into silence. Then he held his breath and muttered, "Just take it yourself. Why are you shouting so loudly?" The president came to the side of the earth whale that was sprawled on the ground like a salted fish. Only then did she remember that the items were all in the stomach of the earth whale clone. How was she going to retrieve them? She couldn't control 07's clone. But just as she was hesitating, the earth whale turned its head and shot her a glance. Then, a door appeared on its belly, and it was very considerate. It was the kind with a lift. The guild leader thought that it was 07's orders, so he went in to get the oven. However, she still felt that there was something different about 07. By the time she returned to the diner, she was sure that 07 was different. 07, who had politely refused to eat, was gone. All that was left in front of her was a hungry ghost that looked like a beggar. It was holding an entire chicken with both hands. Its head was on the plate as it gnawed on it. How hungry must one be to be like this? Little 7, eat slowly. There's still a lot of food. If it's not enough, you can go get more. 007 was also shocked by Naruto's eating habits. Hinata also looked on in a daze. She connected to Naruto through the spiritual network and asked, "Naruto-kun, what happened?" At this moment, Naruto was already regretting releasing Ninetails. In his consciousness form, Naruto's little face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He said, "Ninetails is controlling my body." Then, Naruto briefly explained how Ninetails was able to control his body after using the spiritualization technique. Hinata heaved a sigh of relief after hearing this. "But, Naruto-kun, you can ask it to eat slowly. The president and the others are all scared." Naruto sighed and said, "Pretend I didn't say anything." "But it's paying attention to me," Hinata asked worriedly. "But the president and the others," Naruto thought of a solution that wasn't really a solution. "Just tell them. I have schizophrenia. That's my other personality." The table full of barbecued meat, enough for 7 to 8 people, was gobbled up by Ninetails in 5 minutes. Then it was still not enough. "This is not enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. I'll go get some bigger things." Then it disappeared with a whoosh. The girls were shocked. They looked at each other for a long time before looking at Hinata. Hinata then told them what Naruto had taught her. "Actually, I never told you that 07 has schizophrenia. This is his second personality." 5 minutes later, Ninetails came back with a big guy. In the spiritual network, Naruto begged, "Nine Llamas Sensei, can you pay a little attention to your image? Even if you don't care about your image, you're using my body now." Ninetails replied, "It's because I'm using your body that I don't have to pay attention to my image. Otherwise, I'll lose face." Naruto didn't know if he should say MMP in his heart. Fuck you. Naruto had no time to care about the guild. The only solution now was to solve the matter in Kumogakure as soon as possible. Otherwise, who knows what other tricks Ninetails would come up with. Suddenly, Naruto found that it was very dangerous to give his body to Ninetails. Land of Lightning, Kumogakure. In the private dojo of 2 Yujijin. The 2 Yujijin taught Naruto how to control chakra. "What I can teach you is only the control of chakra, and some experience in using chakra in battle. After all, I'm good at the fire attribute chakra nature transformation. And you're good at the wind attribute, so the help I can give you is very limited." After a few hours of practice in the dojo, Naruto found that the 2 Yujijin were the kind of people who would help until the end. They taught him very seriously and didn't have any intention of being perfunctory at all. Naruto's attitude gradually changed from casual at the beginning to serious. As for Ninetails, since he couldn't control it, he simply didn't care. He believed that Ninetails wasn't really stupid and should be able to grasp the bottom line. "Yujijin-sama, I remember that my chakra also has the fire attribute chakra nature transformation talent. I feel that you can also give me some advice on the fire attribute. He wanted to learn as much as he could from his sensei. Just one more chakra nature transformation talent wouldn't expose his identity. So Naruto decided to ask for advice on the fire attribute, so that after fusing with Nibi's attributes and improving the quality of the fire attribute, he could quickly get started. On the other side, Ninetales continued to eat. Even the size of his stomach didn't limit it. Ninetales cleverly injected chakra into his stomach and accelerated the digestion of his stomach. Ninetales' chakra nature transformation talent was quite terrifying, and the food was almost digested in his stomach. As a result, it ate happily, but Naruto's fat was increasing. Chapter 329. In the blink of an eye, 2 weeks had passed. Originally, in Naruto's expectation, the camping barbecue and the like could buy him a week's time. But he didn't expect the effect to be so good, and there was even a tendency to continue. Naruto contacted Ninetales through the spiritual network and said, "Nine Llamas, Sensei, have they had enough fun and want to leave?" In the land of lightning, in the courtyard of Sarui's house, Naruto was holding a fist-sized fireball between his hands. The fireball was crimson, and the flames were faintly rising upward, and Naruto was maintaining it, making the fireball more solid, round and even. But perhaps because he was multitasking, the flames on the fireball were always a little erratic. On the other side, in the hot spring hotel, Ninetales was alone, soaking in a big hot spring and enjoying life. His white body was getting more and more plump, and his round face was big and round. Even if he didn't wear a mask, few people would be able to associate this face with the Naruto of the past. "No, I take them to eat and drink all day long. How could they have enough fun?" This sentence was not false. The beasts that Ninetales caught for barbecue were not ordinary beasts, but powerful guys with chakra, which can be said to be top-quality ingredients. That kind of temptation is not something that ordinary people can resist. But in essence, when a person wants to eat something, in addition to subjective thoughts, it is more about the needs of the body. The simplest example is drinking water. The human body needs water and will be thirsty. And when people are thirsty, they will get great satisfaction by drinking water. And the meat that has been nourished by chakra is of great benefit to ninjas, and can improve their physical fitness. Therefore, this kind of temptation is simply irresistible. Naruto doesn't care what they eat every day. As long as they stay quietly in the land of lightning, he continued to ask, "Then how long do you think they will be bored?" Ninetales said lazily, "How can playing and eating be the same? Just like you can drink water. Can you drink enough?" Naruto didn't quite understand and gave an accurate time. "Can you fight for a month?" Ninetales replied readily, "No problem at all." With Ninetales' guarantee, Naruto still felt a little uneasy. Then he looked for Hinata. "How was it these days?" Hinata replied happily, "It's good, Nine Llamas. Sensei can get a lot of delicious food every time." Then Hinata said, "I've gained weight." Because Naruto called Kyubi Kurama Sensei, Naruto also let Hinata call him that, so Hinata called him that. Of course. Of the ice of time. Of the day. Hinata heaved a sigh of relief, and her eyes lit up. "Really?" Naruto replied affirmatively. "Really, you're still very cute when you're a little chubby. Why don't you activate spiritual sharing, and let me look at you in front of the mirror?" Hinata's body was half wrapped in a bath towel, and the water vapor on her body hadn't dried yet. It was obvious that she had just soaked in a hot spring. She hurriedly refused. "Another day. I just took a shower, and I haven't put on my clothes yet." Naruto smirked. "Hee, I won't mind if you're naked." Hinata's heart beat faster, and her round little face became a lot rosier. She reprimanded. "I don't want to. Sister Lingling said that women can't let men see their bodies before marriage. Otherwise, they won't be happy in the future." Naruto wanted to refute, but after thinking about it, he held back. Chatting with a girl was not like chatting with his roommates in the past, where he could spit out anything. In order to maintain his gentlemanly demeanor, he still had to ensure that he didn't let the other party feel that he was vulgar. "By the way, Naruto-kun, you're a little fatter now than before." "I'm fatter too? It's just a little, it's nothing." Thinking of this, Naruto sighed. Then it seems that your meals are really good. Then the two chatted casually for a while before hanging up. Naruto began to focus on controlling the fireball in his hand. At this time, the fireball in his hand was obviously much rounder than before, and the rising flames were also controlled, no longer floating upward. At the same time, the flames were no longer flickering, but stabilized and continued to rise in temperature. Naruto's hands separated, and the original fireball began to elongate, and then split into two fireballs from the middle. The first step was successful. Naruto continued to control the fireball to split, but when it split again, the fireball was like a soap bubble, and with a pop, it was extinguished. Failure. This was a method of controlling flames that the Tsuyu taught him, and it was also an offensive move called the Hairy Rat Flame Jade. When one's mastery of the flames reached the pinnacle, one could even transform the flames into various forms to attack. The Tsuyu people liked to turn Naruto into a little mouse, which was also the origin of the name Hairy Rat Flame Jade. The night was silent. The next day, Naruto woke up early and prepared to continue to cultivate at the Tsuyu people's home. Walking on the road and looking at the couples holding hands on the street, Naruto suddenly thought of Hinata. Last night, because Hinata was bathing, he didn't see her, but now it should be fine. Naruto contacted Hinata through the spiritual network. "What are you doing?" Hinata replied. "I'm preparing to go out. Today, we plan to go to the southeast of the Thunder Nation for a tour." Naruto said, "I suddenly miss you, and I want to see you." This time Hinata agreed without hesitation. The shared vision was successfully established. Hinata hadn't looked in the mirror yet, and all she could see was the surrounding scenery. So Naruto saw the back of a fat man with long black hair and a somewhat round figure. He asked, "Who's that burly woman?" Because of the back and long hair, Naruto subconsciously thought it was a woman. However, Hinata replied, "There are no fat women here." Naruto was puzzled. "The one in front of you." Without waiting for Hinata's reply, the person in front turned around. At first glance, Naruto felt a little familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen such a round, white, fat face. Hinata giggled. "That person is you? You can't recognize me just because I've gained a little weight?" F***CK. Naruto, who was in the Thunder Nation, cursed on the street. The person in front of him was himself? Naruto suddenly remembered that Hinata said his body had gained a little weight. But this wasn't just a little weight. This was a few sizes bigger than a kimchi dingy. He looked like a living pig. Naruto was shocked by his own appearance. Just as he was about to argue with Nine Tails, he suddenly had a bad premonition. If this was what Hinata meant by a little bit, then the current Hinata. "Hinata, find a mirror first and let me see you." Naruto took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. Hinata quickly replied, "Okay." Hinata turned around and was about to find a mirror. At this moment, a few fat pigs of varying heights appeared in front of Hinata. With his own appearance, Naruto guessed the identity of these people this time. They were President 000. Naruto slapped himself on the street. "I must be dreaming. Damn nightmare, wake up for me." However, the slap was painful at this time. Hinata finally walked to the mirror and asked, "Am I a little fatter?" Naruto. Plop. On the street of Kimogakure, Naruto fell straight down. In a trance he said, "I must be dreaming. This dream is terrible. Who can save me?" Chapter 330. Nine Tails. How do you want to die? In the spiritual network, Naruto, who had regained consciousness, roared at Nine Tails. Nine Tails, who was still preparing to leave the hot spring hotel, shrunk his neck subconsciously. "There's a murderous aura." But he quickly recovered and retorted, "What did you call me? Don't you know how old I am?" Naruto replied with a black face, "I'm older than you. How can there be an elder like you? Huh? What grudge do I have with you? Not only did you eat me like a pig, you even fed Hinata like a pig. Nine Tails. I'm telling you, I'm not playing with you on this. I'll start practicing wood release now. Just you wait." Practicing wood release? Nine Tails' heart skipped a beat, knowing that he had gone too far. But he felt that he could still save himself, so he quickly retorted. You said that you don't need wood release to deal with me. Are you talking nonsense? Naruto roared. What I said today is bullsh*t. Just you wait. I'm telling you, this is a big feud. There was a saying that went, a shameless person is invincible. After Naruto used his moral integrity as an insult, Ninetales was afraid. He said with a guilty conscience that, don't be angry, I'm just a little fatter from eating. Naruto felt like an inflated pufferfish. His stomach was about to explode. He shouted, that's just a little fatter. Huh. I can't F***king see my legs when I lower my head. What F***king fatter? In the hot spring hotel, Ninetales lowered his head and tried, muttering to himself. Huh? I really can't see my legs. As he said that, Ninetales bent his body forward again, and finally realized that he could not even bend 90 degrees. It seemed a little too much. Ninetales felt even more guilty. There's nothing wrong with being a little fatter. Rolling is so cute. He sensed that Naruto's soul aura through the spiritual link had become more dangerous, which was a sign of extreme irritation. Hence, Ninetales quickly corrected himself. I'm on a diet. I'll go on a diet, okay? I promise that before you come back, I'll return a healthy, well-proportioned, and beautiful body to you. How about that? Sensing that Naruto's aura had finally stopped rising, Ninetales was delighted, knowing that it was effective. Are you sure you can reduce it? Naruto no longer roared, and his tone became calm. Ninetales immediately promised, I promise. I can definitely reduce it before you come back. Naruto asked, what about Hinata? Ninetales promised, I'll help her lose weight too. Naruto nodded his head in satisfaction. He then added, as for the others in the guild, I want to see results in a month's time. Otherwise, don't even think about coming out for a walk again. Also, there won't be any desserts. There's nothing left. Ninetales wanted to say that if you don't give me desserts, I won't borrow your power, but on second thought, the number of times that Naruto borrowed power from me was pitifully small. Coupled with the existence of the spiritual network, the Great Snow Mountain Research Institute could gather chakra. It could be said that, if there were no major problems, chakra would not be needed at all. And if there were major problems, even if Naruto did not ask, he would take the initiative to give it to him. In that case, his right to speak was almost zero. After recognizing the reality, Ninetales felt that in the future, he should be a little more stable. A good fox would not lower himself to the same level as others. Country of Lightning. After ending the call with Ninetales, Naruto took a deep breath. Until now, Naruto still felt that his brain was a little lacking in oxygen. How did they eat? It's only been 2 weeks. It's too illogical. As he was pondering, Naruto recalled the chubby appearance of the president and the others. They were white and chubby like big steamed buns, and they were juicy big steamed buns. Now that he thought about it, it was actually quite funny. Just thinking about their appearance made his depressed mood immediately improve a little. Of course, this did not include Hinata. I really want to run back and take a few souvenir photos for them. Naruto muttered, and then contacted Ninetales again. Teacher Nine Llamas, before you take them to lose weight, take a few photos with them first, or you can get a camera and take some photos for them. Previously, Ninetales was calling Ninetales, but in less than 5 seconds he immediately called Nine Llamas back. The speed at which he changed his face was definitely that of a donkey. In order to prevent the little donkey from neighing again, Ninetales decided to agree to this request. Okay, I'll help them take a few beautiful photos. Naruto replied kindly. Well, then I'll have to trouble you, Teacher Nine Llamas. By the way, you don't have to take my photos. Ninetales quickly replied, okay. Beautiful photos? No way, this was a dark history. In the future. Thinking of this, a sly smile appeared on Naruto's face again. His mood improved a lot for a moment, and he hummed a little tune as he walked to the house of the 2 Yukinin. After 2 weeks of getting along like master and disciple, the relationship between Naruto and the 2 Yukinin had changed from unfamiliar to familiar, and there was even a little intimacy between an elder sister and a younger brother. For example, if one day he cultivated late, or if there was something delicious at home, the two Yukinin would ask Naruto to stay for dinner. However, the two Yukinin's appearance did not change much from the past. They always had a straight face and looked serious about everything. Even when he was eating, he was serious and meticulous. Yukinin, I'm here. Naruto's little mouth was sweet to girls, and he called them sister more smoothly than anyone else. Perhaps it was because of this that the girls were very friendly to Naruto, and the men. Most of the men in Kimogakure were full of malice towards him. Naruto walked in the door, and the smile on his face froze, and his expression became solemn. In front of him, the fourth Raikage was standing in the courtyard at this time talking with the two Yukinin. Naruto saluted the fourth Raikage seriously and respectfully greeted him. The fourth Raikage looked at him. The fourth Raikage's skin was the typical dark brown of the land of lightning. His face was square. The outline of his face was clear, and his eyes were calm and serious. There was a kind of majesty that Tsunade didn't have. However, Naruto was more concerned about, why does this guy like to show his stomach? At this time, the fourth Raikage was wearing a white robe, and his chest was open. At a glance, one could see the neat and strong dark brown abdominal muscles like granite. Exhibitionist? Naruto was deeply skeptical. The Raikage opened his mouth, and his voice was low and deep. Is this the little guy you were talking about? This sentence was said to the two Yukinin. The two Yukinin respectfully said, Raikage-sama, yes. The Raikage looked at Naruto again, and Naruto's heart tightened. Were they talking about him just now? In order not to cause unnecessary trouble, after familiarizing himself with the Kimogakure, Naruto put away the perception barrier. After all, some people can still detect this method of detection. So when Naruto came, he didn't notice the Raikage in advance, and he didn't know that they were talking about him. The Raikage nodded, and his beard rose. Well, let me try this little guy. I'm also very interested in the person who can make you want to formally accept him as your disciple. The Raikage took a step toward Naruto, and the next moment, he disappeared in a flash of lightning. The Raikage was attacking him. What should I do? Should I dodge or not? Or fight back? And the Raikage just said that the two Yukinin want to formally accept him as their disciple. Chapter 331. Should he fight with Raikage? While Naruto was hesitating, Raikage's figure disappeared in front of him. Raikage's attack speed was extremely fast, but when Raikage launched his attack, Naruto vaguely felt that Raikage was going to attack him. This feeling was very sudden, and he had never felt it before. It was his left calf. Naruto stepped on the ground, and his body moved half a step to the right. Then Raikage appeared behind Naruto's previous position, bent his knee, and it seemed that he wanted to hit Naruto's left knee. But this move failed when Naruto moved away. Raikage obviously didn't think that his attack would fail, and he was surprised. He was surprised and said, "Huh? Interesting." Then he attacked again, this time faster than before. Obviously, Raikage didn't use his full strength the first time, he was just testing. But this time Naruto had the same premonition. This premonition seemed to be a kind of warning sign, which was a bit strange. On the one hand, Naruto wanted to try and see if it would work, but on the other hand, he was hesitating whether he should dodge or not. After all, according to the gap in strength, he shouldn't dodge Raikage's attack. The opponent was Raikage, and his current identity was just Chunin. The warning sign gradually strengthened, and the process in his mind seemed to be extremely long and unbearable. Naruto was itching, and once again he dodged according to his premonition. This time Raikage intended to catch him with his hand. He dodged again. This time, not only Raikage was surprised, but Naruto himself was also shocked. This kind of thing has never happened before. He also fought with the president, but that time, he was in the ground. Could it be that this kind of premonition can only be triggered when the enemy is strong enough? The third time, Raikage attacked again, but this time Naruto didn't dodge and was caught by Raikage. The lightning on Raikage's body crackled, and the electric current passed along Naruto's arm to Naruto's body. Naruto's hair instantly became hot. Motherf ***. Naruto suddenly thought of another guy who often electrocuted him, Kakashi. After Raikage grabbed Naruto, he realized that he might have used too much strength. Thus he hurriedly put away the lightning, awkwardly cleared his throat, and praised. That is indeed a promising talent. He was actually able to avoid my probing. However, the body controlled by Naruto had already gone into shock from the electric shock. The two Uchihan came over and took Naruto from Reikich's hands. Reikich stood there awkwardly. I'm sorry, I accidentally got serious, but don't worry, I know what I'm doing. He'll wake up after a day of rest. Naruto's spiritual body rolled his eyes in Sarui's spiritual world. What the F***ck? Did he have a sense of propriety when he electrocuted her? He still needed to rest for a day. Well, I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Take care of this little guy. Reikich left with a gloomy face. The two Uchihan picked up Naruto and walked back to the house. Naruto was surprised. Not the hospital? Are they going to take me to the boudoir? Naruto's heart was a little excited for a moment. But soon he found out that he was wrong, because the two Uchihan took him to a very simple house, which was obviously a guest room. But, having the two Uchihan personally taking care of him was also very good. Naruto comforted himself in his heart. But Naruto was wrong again. The two Uchihan just put him on the bed, and then called two maids. Although he didn't want to have an affair, Naruto was still happy to have a little bit of luck with women, and a little bit of luck with women. That way, he could turn into Lu Xiaohui, who was always calm and composed. He could write a good name in the ninja world of 10,000 flowers without a single leaf touching his clothes, and only cultivate his own little loli. The two Uchihan called two servants and left. Naruto had no choice but to try to reconnect his body. The first time failed. The second time failed. The state of his body was a bit bad, and the aftermath of Reikich's lightning attribute chakra was still stirring in his body. The connection failed. Naruto could only recall the battle with Reikich. Nine Lamas, sensei, I have a problem. It should be because he did something wrong. Ninetails' attitude was very good, and he even showed an 8-tooth smile to Naruto's consciousness projection. What's the matter? Naruto told him about the battle with Reikich. Ninetails didn't show any surprise after listening, and casually said, Combat intuition, it's not a rare thing. Naruto also knew about combat intuition, but the feeling that appeared when he fought with Reikich was not combat intuition at all. It felt like foresight in advance, so Naruto denied. That's not intuition, I feel more like foresight. Ninetails hesitated slightly. From the spiritual link, he could feel that Naruto was not lying or deliberately exaggerating. Then he suddenly thought of something. Yes, maybe it has something to do with the egg. Just now the egg woke up for a while, and then it swallowed a lot of chakra and fell asleep again. You can find someone to test it again. If that premonition is gone, it means it's the egg. The egg just woke up? Then the man and the fox matched the time. And it turned out that when he fought with Reikich, it was indeed at that time. The next day, Naruto's body finally recovered from the shock. Yugine-san, I want to ask you to be my sparring partner. At the dinner table, the two Uchihan swallowed the last mouthful of food in their mouths. Okay. Naruto wanted to test Ninetails' guess. As a result, Naruto was continuously KO'd by the Uchihan 6 times. In the 6 times, under Naruto's request, the two Uchihan's attack each time was heavier than the previous one, but the feeling of foreseeing danger in advance never appeared. According to Ninetails, it was the egg's problem. Your body can't continue. The 7th time, the two Uchihan finally refused to fight. Naruto's body was paralyzed on the ground, and he replied, I don't think it's necessary to continue. The two Uchihan didn't know what Naruto was thinking, and they thought that Naruto was unwilling to be stunned by Reikich. It's not shameful to be defeated by Reikich. In fact, I didn't think you could escape from Reikich's attack. You've done very well. Naruto got up from the ground. The two Uchihan were very serious, so the attack just now was really heavy, and Naruto felt that his body should have suffered internal injuries. I know, I just want to try. Naruto endured the pain, and replied with a smile. The two Uchihan checked the injuries on Naruto's body, and after confirming that they were all flesh wounds, they said with satisfaction, Very good. It seems that I have more discretion than Reikich-sama. What's there to compare? Naruto was a little speechless. Then the two Uchihan said to Naruto, Today's practice will end here. You need to have a good rest from tomorrow onwards. You will be my official disciple, so in the future, your practice will be very strict. I hope you are mentally prepared. Ah, disciple? Naruto remembered that Reikage seemed to have mentioned apprentice before. So, the two Uchihan really intend to accept him? Naruto was still in a daze, and the two Uchihan praised him. Your performance today was very good. This tone was the master's praise to the disciple. After saying that, the two Uchihan stiffly raised their hands and patted Naruto's head. Cute. Chapter 332. Naruto had a good time in Kimogakure, especially after the two Yujito accepted him as a disciple. His life became even more comfortable. After becoming the disciple of the two Yujito, Naruto lived in the two Yujito's house. Every day, in addition to eating and sleeping, he would cultivate and study the nature changes of chakra. He didn't even have to do missions. He didn't know if it was the benefit of becoming the disciple of the two Yujitos or Reikage's guilt for electrocuting him. In short, life was wonderful. But he didn't come here for a vacation after all. He approached the two Yujito in order to integrate the soul power of Nibi. Yujito-san, what does Nibi look like? Is she fierce? Taking advantage of the end of cultivation, Naruto asked the two Yujito tentatively. The two Yujito turned around and looked at Naruto. In Naruto's eyes, the two Yujito's serious expression at all times, coupled with the red rose lip gloss, looked quite cold. Natsuki is not fierce, she's a very cute big cat. Natsuki was the name of Nibi, Naruto knew this. But, Nibi is a cute big cat? There are not many people in the world who can say that a tailed beast is cute. Then, Yujito-san, can you let me see her? The two Yujito didn't agree directly and said, I'll help you ask. The two Yujito contacted Nibi, who was lying lazily in the sealed space at this time. Wagging her tail, she said rather coldly, no. The two Yujito conveyed Nibi's message back. Seeing that Naruto was a little disappointed, they comforted him. You can still see her when you have the chance in the future, or you. Speaking of these two Yujito hesitated for a moment, and said with some embarrassment, or you can buy some sashimi that she likes to eat. Speaking of these two Yujito added, it's just that she likes to eat fish. It's really not that I like to eat fish. Naruto suddenly realized, no wonder he lived in the two Yujito's house and ate fish for every meal these days. At the same time, he also understood why the two Yujitos could become the perfect human pillar force even though they were not very strong, and didn't have any special bloodline limit or ability. While the two were chatting, there was a shout in the courtyard. Naruto heard it seem to say something stupid. Could it be? I'm here. Bastard idiot. Original Japanese transliteration. Bakyaro, control Mayalo. The person outside continued to rap with a strange rhythm. Yujito. I heard. You finally. You got an apprentice? Stupid, stupid, stupid. Naruto's mouth twitched. There was no doubt that the person who came was Killer Bee, the Hachibi Jinchuriki. Little Yujito? Naruto looked at the two Yujito-ni. Yujito-ni's expression didn't change. She got up and said, let's go, an interesting senpai should have come. Interesting. It's quite interesting. Using stupid bastard as a catchphrase, and it's a super difficult to sing. Naruto and the two Yujinin walked into the courtyard and saw Killer Bee, Hachibi Ninja Jinchuriki, and his three apprentices coming in a mighty manner. Killer Bee had beige hair that was similar to Reikage's, and his hairstyle was the same as Reikage's. His hair was tied together and combed behind his head. He wore a Kimogakure headband on his head, and under the headband, there was a sexy little sunglasses. His skin was dark brown. He wore a one-shoulder slanted white ninja uniform unique to Kimogakure, and his arms and chest were bare inside. Another exhibitionist? Of course, the most eye-catching ones were the 7 ninja swords with red cloth wrapped around the hilts of the 7 swords on his back, the top 2, the left 3, and the right 2. Killer Bee had some dust on his body, and it seemed that he had just finished a task, and came directly from outside. Bastard! Stupid! Killer Bee shouted, and then pointed at Naruto with his hands, and said very exaggeratedly, this little bean sprout. That's it. You took it. Apprentice? Little bean sprout? From the height point of view, the person controlled by Naruto was 1.7 meters, and his body was very uniform, which can be said to be very standard. However, Killer Bee's height was more than 1.9 meters. In front of him, Naruto was really not that thick. But to be called a little bean sprout, although Naruto had the idea of needing Killer Bees, but at this time, he still respectfully said, "Killer Bee-sama." So Killer Bee started to rap again, and Naruto's head hurt. Compared to the funny Killer Bee, the three apprentices behind Killer Bee were much more normal. Killer Bee's apprentices were 2 women and 1 man. Among the 3, the girl with short blonde hair was the tallest, and her age looked similar to Yujito, and her figure was more hot. Killer Bee pointed to his disciple, then pointed to Naruto, and sang to the 2 Yujito nin, "Bastard, idiot, let your disciple do it. My apprentice. Let's fight. Let's see whose apprentice is stronger." Naruto looked at the 2 Yujito. The 2 Yujito nodded in agreement. Okay. After getting the 2 Yujito's agreement, Killer Bee excitedly jumped up and pointed to another girl in the team. "Go, Karui." Karui was a girl with brown skin and red hair. After hearing Killer Bee's name, she excitedly pulled out her ninja sword. She was full of vigor. However, Naruto disarmed her at the beginning of the battle. The first battle ended with Naruto's victory. Killer Bee didn't show any disappointment, and he jumped even more happily. From Killer Bee's body, Naruto had a feeling of seeing Guy and Shaoli. Tsk. I don't know what kind of stupid thing that stupid master and apprentice are doing now. Jumping 100 laps around a wood leaf? Or running upside down with both hands? Naruto was thinking, and Killer Bee sent out the second person. Oh my! It was a little boy with short white hair. He was very cute, and he had a lollipop in his mouth. His skin was brown and his teeth were very white. However, after being called out, he showed a hesitant and timid expression. Even Karui lost. "I definitely can't do it," the boy muttered. Then Killer Bee encouraged him with a rap. But the effect was very little. Killer Bee's apprentice lost again. Killer Bee began to praise Naruto, and then sent out the third person. It was the most mature girl. She was only a little shorter than Naruto. Her skin was white, and her figure looked very mature. Killer Bee was very imposing as he rapped. "Little Yujito, your apprentice. Very good. But, yes, absolutely not. Sammy's opponent." Yujito didn't say anything. Naruto thought again. He was called a very strong opponent. Should he defeat him? Anyway, he even dodged Rakich's move. Defeating a ninja of Chunin's level shouldn't be a big deal, right? Hence, Naruto won the third round again. Killer Bee finally stopped jumping. His body was stiff as if he was petrified, and his hands were still posing. After being petrified for 3 seconds, Killer Bee suddenly held his stomach and stopped singing his catchphrase. However, he still had a singing voice. "Oh, I suddenly realized. My stomach. It hurts a little." Then he waved his hand and said, "That. Little Yujito. Today's visit. That's it." Then just like how he came, he rushed and rushed away. Killer Bee was so funny. Under his influence, even if Hachibi hadn't seen it, she could imagine it. Chapter 333. Start running. Don't stop. If you're tired now, don't even think about standing up for the rest of your life. So hold on. Perseverance is victory. And victory is right in front of you. On the high seas of the country of lightning, Ninetails was roaring at the top of his lungs. Beside Ninetails were a few girls who were so tired that they were about to dehydrate. They ran on the surface of the sea against the wind and waves, just to lose weight. It turned out that this kind of weight loss was not bad. The originally round and rolling bodies that looked like little piglets had disappeared, and were replaced by healthy and beautiful bodies that could even be seen clearly. But because of the sea breeze and the sun every day, the originally fair and clean girls had all become charcoal balls. How dark were they? After the sun went down, night fell. Standing in the dark night and grinning, it was as if someone's big white teeth had become a spirit and was floating in the sky. It was so scary. Teacher 9 Llamas, it's almost a month. Have you guys succeeded in losing weight? Naruto asked Nine-Tails through the spiritual network. Nine-Tails answered very proudly, "We must have succeeded." Naruto heaved a sigh of relief. Although Naruto did not discriminate against fat people, it was too much to be that fat. It was a few 100 pounds, and their bodies were so round that they could not even see their legs when they looked down. It was really too much. Then Teacher Nine Llamas, "Can you share your vision with me and let me take a look?" Nine-Tails refused. "There's still a week before the agreed time. I'll show you when the time is up." Nine-Tails looked at the President and 01. These two were the most enthusiastic when they were eating, so they were the fattest. Now their waists were still a little plump. Nine-Tails was thinking of waiting for all the girls to train their waists. When the time came, he would let Naruto see that he was a fox that kept his word. He had to keep his promises. Unlike a certain someone who spoke like a fart. He clearly said that he would not threaten him with Mokuton. Naruto. Thinking of this, Nine-Tails became a little emotional. He replied impatiently, "Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, I'll hang up. I'm busy here." After Nine-Tails hung up, Naruto chatted with Hinata for a while. Hinata would reply to normal chats, but when it came to establishing a shared vision, Hinata refused. Teacher Nine Llamas said that I can't share my vision with you. There was one more thing that Hinata didn't say. If they shared their vision with Naruto, the training that day would be doubled. Hinata was so tired that she felt like she was going to die if she cultivated normally. If she multiplied by 2, she would die. Therefore, Hinata decided to listen to Nine-Tails. Nine-Tails did not agree to spiritual sharing, and neither did Hinata. Naruto was at his wit's end. If he was using his own body now, he would be able to see Hinata by virtue of the 5-star identity card that was bound to his body. However, this temporary body of his was only bound to a 1-star card. Should I look for Defei? Apart from Naruto, Defei was the only one with a 5-star identity card. Next, Naruto shook his head again, thinking that there was only a week left anyway. Since Nine-Tails had agreed, there shouldn't be any more problems. After all, there were only 2 choices. In the worst-case scenario, they might get fatter. Those guys had already eaten so much that they would lose their human form if they got fatter. Hence, Naruto felt that it was impossible for them to get fatter. Since things couldn't get worse, they could only develop in a positive direction. There were no worries on Nine-Tails' side. Hence, the most important thing now was to find a way to integrate Second Last and Eight-Tails chakra. On Second Last's side, Naruto had done enough homework. It could be said that he had taken out almost all the savings of the original owner of this body to buy all kinds of dried fish for Second Last to eat. There were also fresh fish. Naruto even personally cooked braised carp, sweet and sour carp, steamed fish, boiled fish, and so on. Anyway, Naruto had made all the fish cooking methods that he could think of. The effect was very obvious. Even the 2 Yuginin who were about to throw up from eating fish praised it. Naruto also met Second Last naturally. Now he was just short of coming into contact with Second Last and devouring her soul power. Because devouring soul power would definitely attract the attention of the other party. Naruto decided to wait until he left before devouring. Naruto's sacrifice on Eight-Tails' side was not small either. In order to get close to the silly killer bee, Naruto lied that he loved music and liked to rap. He even stole several music works from his previous life, lied that he composed them, and sang them to Killer Bee. After Killer Bee heard it, he was very touched and treated Naruto as a soulmate. Naruto also saw Eight-Tails. He even sang with Eight-Tails. To be honest, that was not a very good memory. Ding. Ring ring ring. The alarm clock on the dojo rang, and the 8 small fireballs floating in Naruto's hand merged together, and then extinguished. This was the alarm clock for mealtime. Naruto should get up and cook. The ingredients were prepared in advance. A dish and a soup. Crispy yellow croaker rolls and lobster miso soup. Naruto's movements were smooth, and he wrapped the yellow croaker that had been prepared in cooking wine with tofu skin. He turned on the hot pot, poured oil, and began to fry the fish. However, Naruto did not use gas. The 8 small fireballs under the ladle provided heat for the ladle. Using fire release in cooking, Naruto was definitely a dazzling wonder in the ninja world. However, he had to admit that this kind of fire was easier to control. After frying the fish rolls, the miso soup was ready, and Naruto's work was considered completed. Of course, there were other dishes, but those were not within the scope of Naruto's work. He was only responsible for cooking the fish. It smells so good. There's actually a new dish today. The two of them tasted the fish rolls. The fish rolls were crispy on the outside and tender on the inside, smooth and delicious. The best thing was that there was no need to pick out the bones. That way, they could eat it carefully. At the same time, Second Lass was also smacking her lips in the sealed space, her eyes squinting into a line and her face full of enjoyment. From time to time, her small tongue would stick out and lick her lips, looking as if she was licking the fish. She took the initiative to contact Naruto through mental link and praised, "It's delicious. I'm definitely going to be your brother. If anyone bullies you in the future, tell me. I promise to teach them a lesson." Naruto flattered, "It's good that brother Yukari likes it. Don't worry, if there's a time when I need you, I'll definitely not be polite." Yes, he wouldn't be polite. That egg had swallowed a lot of Ninetales' soul power, and even made Ninetales anxious. Later on, Shikaka didn't spoil it either. Before the meal was finished, the sound of lame rap came from outside. It was that guy, Killer Bee, who came. Idiot. Bastard. Little Yukari. Little Sarutobi. Yo. Killer Bee is here. Yo yo. Naruto had tried to change Killer Bee's colloquial phrase of stupid bastard, but he failed. Killer Bee walked into the room, swaying with exaggerated steps, with 2 tickets in his hand. Yo. Concert. Yo. Please give me your tickets. Killer Bee is going to hold a concert? Is there anything worse than this? After Killer Bee gave them the tickets, he didn't intend to leave. Instead, he began to rap and praise the delicious food. Thus, the two of them invited Killer Bee to take a seat. Second Lass complained, "I definitely don't want to go to that idiot's concert. Yukari, as usual, take a mission and hide outside the village." Naruto wanted to bring him along, but in the past few days, in order to get close to Killer Bee, he had already thrown away his integrity and said that he loved music. At this moment, Hachibi's mental link came in. Yo. Yo. Concert. I'll sing too. Second Lass was speechless. Naruto was speechless. Yukari was speechless. Chapter 334. Woodleaf Ninja Village, Naruto's office. Jiraiya and Kakashi were confronting each other. Jiraiya didn't like Kakashi now, but sadly there was no one he could use in Woodleaf. The result of the discussion with Sannin has come out, and Sannin has agreed to hold another Chunin exam in Woodleaf. Jiraiya stared at Kakashi and Kakashi said, "Oh." Then he said listlessly, "Then what do you need me to do?" Jiraiya resisted the urge to beat Kakashi again and said in a commanding tone, "I want you to stay in Woodleaf, in Naruto's position." Kakashi said indifferently, "I'm not that kind of material, I can't protect anyone, and I don't have the ability to do so, it's better to find someone else." The blue veins on Jiraiya's forehead jumped violently. If Kakashi really didn't have the ability, then so be it. But Kakashi confused the water and lightning attributes into mist release Kekii Genkai, which is enough to prove his excellence. Moreover, Kakashi has the Sharingan, and he's White Fang's son. Jiraiya opened his mouth, but didn't say the harsh words he prepared. Naruto may still be alive. It was a very calm and soothing sentence, but in Kakashi's ears, it was like being struck by lightning. But he quickly denied it. Impossible. I was there when he died. Jiraiya sighed. That corpse? I restored the seal on the corpse. It's not the 8 trigram seal left by Minato. Kakashi asked, "What do you mean?" Jiraiya looked at Kakashi and said, "It means that corpse may be fake." Kakashi denied. Impossible. The power of Ninetales can't be fake. Jiraiya sighed. That's what I don't understand. But there's one more thing. I have the key to the seal left by Minato, and Toad, who is responsible for looking after the seal, said it can feel the seal is still there. Kakashi asked, "Where is Naruto now?" Jiraiya rolled his eyes and with a look of "you ask me who should I ask" expression and said, "I don't know." Kakashi thought for a moment. The gloominess in his eyes had disappeared, and it was replaced by hope again. But soon his brows wrinkled again. If he didn't die, then the accident. Jiraiya shook his head. Kakashi stopped talking and didn't continue. If Naruto didn't die, does that mean that Naruto was the one who directed the accident? If that's the case, then the death of Koharu and Midokado Hamura. Does that mean Naruto did it? If that's the case, then Naruto is a traitor. What do you need me to do? Jiraiya pointed his chin at Naruto's seat behind him. Sit there. Kakashi's expression struggled. But in the end he nodded. Jiraiya finally smiled with satisfaction. Well, you can leave now. There's nothing else for you to do. After Kakashi left, Jiraiya sighed. I really hope it's not Tsunade's doing. While restoring the seal on Naruto's corpse, Jiraiya also checked the cause of death of Midokado Hamura and the Umbu ninjas around him. It was confirmed that they were poisoned. Secondly, there were no traces of other people at the scene. All of them died from killing each other. The only method to cause this result was Genjutsu or Spirit Transformation Jutsu. Poison Tsunade. Spirit Transformation Jutsu, Kato. Tsunade used Edo Tensei to resurrect Kato. Then the whole thing became clear. But he didn't tell anyone the result. He was hesitating in his heart. He still couldn't let go of the woman who took all of his wealth and ran away with another man, at this time. Jiraiya couldn't help but think of Naruto's words. If you like her, go after her. If you don't regret it later. Jiraiya admitted that he regretted it now. But Naruto and Tsunade, where did they go? Jiraiya was in a depressed mood. Kakashi, who had just left, turned back. No, I'm Naruto. This is my territory. You should be the one leaving, right? Jiraiya's expression stiffened. You're chasing me away? Kakashi quickly replied. No, Jiraiya roared. You're chasing me away. This time, without waiting for Kakashi to answer, Jiraiya began to beat Kakashi violently. At the same time, during this period of training, Kakashi was no longer the boy who didn't fight back. The two of them fought back and forth. He didn't even use his chakra, but his fists hit his flesh, and his face was swollen. The next day, Jiraiya went to the mist and invited them to participate in the Chunin exam. According to the itinerary, the next one was the Lightning Country, then the Earth Country, and the Rain Country. At the same time in the Lightning Country, Naruto and the Nine Tails shared vision. Today was the last day of the weight loss plan, so Naruto came to check. Naruto saw the thin Hinata and the girls. They were thin. But what's with the dark color on their bodies? Did they encounter a squid in the sea? Then the squid launched an ink spray at them? How could it be so dark? Naruto only felt a buzz in his head. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? His brain completely froze, and he didn't know anything. Nine Tails was still showing off. What do you think? Am I a man of my word? Not only did I lose weight, but I also optimized my body according to your aesthetics, and I even refined my vest line. Naruto. Optimization? What optimization? Oh, vest line. What's that again? Looking at the group of little black people, Naruto felt his consciousness become dull. Naruto originally thought there were only two choices between being fat and being thin. If you can't be fat, then the worst result is to stay the same, and the best result is to be thin. However, he found that he was too naive. Nine Tails actually dyed the white and clean girls black. Nine Llamas Sensei, do I have a grudge against you? Naruto was very calm now, so calm that Nine Tails was very dissatisfied. In his opinion, Naruto should be happy now. He should praise him, reward him, apologize to him, and repent. Grudge. You actually used would release to threaten me. I'm telling you, this is a big grudge. Naruto continued to stare in front of him. Oh, so you dyed them black to get back at me? Good. Very good. Just you wait. I'm already proficient in the nature change of the earth element, and would release won't be far. Threatening me with would release again. Nine Tails flew into a rage. What do you want, you brat? I've already asked them to lose their fat. Naruto gritted his teeth and said, Then why did you dye them black? Blame me for being fat. Blame me for being black? Nine Tails decided that he couldn't stand it and roared. Black is from the sun. Go find the sun if you can. Naruto was about to open his mouth. At this time, Nine Tails counterattacked again. If you use would release to threaten me again. Believe it or not, I'll fatten them up again. By then they'll be black and fat, hee hee hee. Naruto instantly received a critical hit of 100,000 points KO. Chapter 335. Land of Lightning. Raikage's office. Raikage stared at a scroll from Woodleaf and fell into deep thought. The scroll said that Woodleaf wanted to reopen the Chunin exam. This was nothing. Over the years, when the major villages held the Chunin exam, they would send invitations to the other major villages. This showed their respect for the other major villages. In the past, he didn't even look at this kind of invitation, but this year was different. This year, under the invitation from Woodleaf, there was a sentence saying that Jiraiya was coming to Kumogakure. Therefore, this was not only an invitation, but also a visit. Woodleaf. What are they doing? Woodleaf wanted to hold the Chunin exam, and Jiraiya wanted to come to Kumogakure. Raikage didn't know the news for long, but Naruto also knew. Thanks to Killer Bee, who used the news as a topic of conversation. Yo. Go to Woodleaf. Go to the door. Go to see Nine Tails. Yo. Killer Bee said with a bad rap. Nine Tails, who still maintained a spiritual link with Naruto, muttered, I don't want to see you, idiot. Naruto was digesting the news that Jiraiya was coming. Why did Jiraiya come to the Land of Lightning? Did he find out that he was in the Land of Lightning? No way. No way. Naruto thought that he didn't leave any flaws. Even if there were flaws, he wouldn't come to the Land of Lightning to find him, but to the Land of Snow. So, is it to hold the Chunin exam? Since when did the Chunin exam become so important? Why did he visit in person? Naruto? Killer Bee called twice, and Naruto finally returned to his senses. Ah, what's the matter? Killer Bee handed over the bowl of rice. Well, Naruto took the bowl and filled it with rice. The two Yujito Nin said, it shouldn't be possible. The Chunin exam is a competition between allies. Kumogakure hasn't participated in this kind of work for a long time. But I'm more concerned about Jiraiya. Is he really as strong as the legends say? Speaking of Jiraiya, Killer Bee rarely spoke without singing. I don't know how strong Jiraiya is, but I fought with his disciple, Yondaime Naruto. That man is really strong. A person who can teach such a powerful disciple can't be weak. But I'm still more interested in meeting Nine Tails, Human Pillar Force, and Nine Tails at Woodleaf. Nine Tails and Nine Tails Human Pillar Force don't really want to see you. This time it was Naruto's turn to complain. The two Yujito Nin didn't answer, so Killer Bee turned to look at Naruto. Sarui, if you can go to Woodleaf, I'll recommend you to take the Chunin exam. I'll bet on you winning. Go back to Woodleaf? That sounds interesting. A week later, Jiraiya came to Kumogakure. Naruto, as the disciple of the two Yujito Nin and a good friend of Hachibi, was honored to follow them to greet Jiraiya, one of the Sannin of Woodleaf. At the same time, Kumogakure also entered a state of alert. Wahahaha. You guys are really enthusiastic. Jiraiya stood on top of Oily Toad's head, and Oily Toad jumped high into the sky. Today, the weather in the Land of Lightning was very good. The sky was clear, and the sun was very bright and dazzling. Jiraiya shouted his long list of names. Mount Mayaboku Toad Sannin, the white-haired boy of Sannin who is invincible in the whole world regardless of north, south, east, and west. What can make a child stop crying? The long list of names was like an old lady's foot-wrapping cloth. Naruto felt ashamed and had goosebumps just listening to it. However, Killer Bee's eyes were shining, and he picked up a small notebook and a pen and quickly recorded it. Naruto secretly said, not good. Killer Bee's narcissism is already uncomfortable enough. Does he have to add Jiraiya's Chinibu attribute? What are you doing? Naruto stayed away from Killer Bee and leaned toward the two Yujito Nin. Killer Bee praised. What a powerful sentence. If I shout like this before a fight, I'll feel good. Yes. Also add in the form of rap. Shout before a fight? Also add in rap. The picture was so beautiful that Naruto couldn't even imagine it. Oil Toad's huge body finally landed, and Jiraiya stood firmly on top of Oil Toad's head with his hands on his waist, looking very arrogant. However, Naruto was very happy to see such a lively Jiraiya. He was worried that Jiraiya would be depressed because of Tsunade's elopement with her ex-boyfriend. It seems that he underestimated Jiraiya's big heart. Do any of you want my autograph? My autograph is still very valuable. Jiraiya took out a pen. Who would want that kind of thing? When Naruto was dismissive, a group of people rushed up. There was even Killer Bee among them. Well, Naruto admitted that he underestimated Jiraiya's fame. No matter what, Jiraiya is also a writer. Naruto couldn't help but think of Kakashi. He didn't know if Kakashi-sensei would still hold Jiraiya's books all day long. He thought of Kakashi, and then thought of Sasuke. He thought of the different Team 7. His days in Woodleaf were not too bad now. And that guy Dingy, he didn't know if that fat guy continued to use the Gibbon technique. Is Tooth Inuzuka's dog still eating the dog food formula he gave him? Shikamaru Nara hasn't been promoted to Jonin yet, so he should be happy now. Xiao Li and his stupid master must be sweating their youth. Thinking about it, Naruto suddenly wanted to go to Woodleaf to see those guys. If Kumogakure could take the Woodleaf Chunin exam, then he could secretly bully those guys. It would be interesting to think about it. Jiraiya-sama, I want to take a picture with you. A silly boy carrying a camera shouted in the crowd. Then the scene became more lively. But Naruto also knew that this was just a facade. In the dark, Kumogakure's Anbu had gathered. If they found something wrong, they would swarm up. This was also the reason why Hachibi Human Pillar Force and Nibi Human Pillar Force came together to greet them. But fortunately, unpleasant things didn't happen. Everyone met in a friendly manner, signed their names, and took a picture. Then they walked all the way to the Reikage building. I feel that Jiraiya is an interesting person. Killer Bee, who didn't rap, was much cuter in Naruto's eyes. So he replied, "Have you read his book?" Killer Bee was taken aback and asked, "Have you read it?" Naruto really read a few pages in the store manager's study, and then the book was given to Kakashi. "I haven't read it," Killer Bee suddenly said. "Then let's buy a book and have a look." As he said that, he was about to pull Naruto to the bookstore. Naruto immediately changed the topic and said, "Shouldn't we pay more attention to whether Reikage-sama will agree to Woodleaf's invitation now? You are very familiar with Reikage. Would you like to inquire about the news?" Chapter 336. Land of Lightning, Reikage's office. Woodleaf organized this Chunin exam to attract the attention of the Akatsuki. For this reason, the Cloud sent 2 Human Pillar Force. Reikage stared at Jiraiya. At this time, Reikage's expression wasn't as friendly as when Jiraiya first came in. His eyes were full of doubt and distrust. Jiraiya calmly looked at him and replied, "Before coming to Cloud, I went to the Mist first. The Mist has agreed to participate in this Chunin exam, and the Mizukage will be there in person." Reikage retorted, "That has nothing to do with Cloud's participation. In fact, because the Land of Lightning and the Land of Water are not far away, there are a lot of wars and hatred between the 2 countries. How can I believe that you don't have a secret plan with the Mist? On the one hand, you divert our main force, and on the other hand, the Mist will take advantage of this?" Jiraiya replied, "Because Woodleaf not only invited the Mist and Cloud, but also invited Rock and Sand. At that time, the 5 major villages will gather in Woodleaf. In this case, you don't need to worry about Woodleaf's little tricks, because Woodleaf can't offend the other 4 villages at the same time. And Woodleaf doesn't have the ability to unite the 4 major villages to deal with Cloud." The 2 looked at each other for a long time, and the confidence in Jiraiya's eyes made Reikage nod secretly. Confidence is confidence in his own strength. Even if he is in a tiger's den, he won't change his expression. Calmness is because he has the strength, and also because he is telling the truth. Calmness is naturally based on confidence and calmness. The stronger the person, the sharper the intuition. The 4th Reikage could feel that Jiraiya wasn't lying. But that's not enough. "Are you going to Iwagakure next? If you can invite Iwagakure, Cloud will consider it." The 4th Reikage's expression relaxed, and he didn't say anything. Jiraiya said, "I hope you can think about it carefully. The core members of the Akatsuki are all S-class ninjas from the major shinobi villages. These dangerous people gathered together must not be underestimated. The fourth Reikage calmly said, "It's natural that we can't underestimate them, but we don't have any S-class ninjas in Kimogakure. In other words, these people may have been treated unequally by the other 4 villages, and then they want to gather together to launch revenge on you. If that's the case, Kimogakure can't find a reason to get involved in this mess. Go ahead. If you want Kimogakure to show their attitude, then Kimogakure's attitude is not to participate." The conversation came to an end. Jiraiya didn't stay in Kimogakure and left directly. This result was quickly passed from Killer Bee's mouth to Naruto's ears. If Kimogakure doesn't participate, then his idea of taking the Wood Leaf Chunin exam as a Kimogakure ninja will fail. Naruto was somewhat disappointed. After all, it was interesting to pretend to be a Kimogakure ninja and go to Wood Leaf. At noon the next day after Jiraiya left, Naruto finally decided to make a move on Nibi and Hachibi. Naruto drugged the fish for lunch, a drug that can affect chakra's normal extraction. Unfortunately, Killer Bee didn't come to eat for some reason. Yujito Wani-san, try today's boiled fish. How does it taste? Yujito Nibi tasted the food as usual and praised, "It's delicious but a little spicy." Watching Yujito Nibi eat the drugged fish, the last hesitation in Naruto's heart disappeared. After all, he's not Sarui, he's Naruto. He can pretend to be Sarui for a month, but he can't pretend forever. However, parting is imminent. Naruto's heart was still somewhat reluctant. Yujito Nibi ate a few more mouthfuls of fish before noticing that Naruto didn't move his chopsticks. She urged, "Don't just watch me eat." Naruto smiled, but his smile was uglier than crying. Yujito Wani-san. Even if there were thousands of words in his heart, he couldn't say it. "I'm sorry. I'll apologize to you later." With that, a rune line climbed from under the table to the bodies of the 2 Yujito Nibi. The black rune seal covered the entire body of Yujito Nibi in the blink of an eye. The 2 Yujito Nibi struggled subconsciously, but their bodies were completely imprisoned and couldn't move at all. And chakra couldn't be used normally. The 2 Yujito Nibi stared at Naruto. Naruto took a deep breath and apologized. "Actually, I'm not Sarui. I'll explain this matter to you next time we meet." With that said, Naruto's hand seals, and the rune line became more complicated under Naruto's control, forming a complete seal. The 2 Yujito Nibi fainted. Sorry. Naruto's mental strength invaded the spiritual world of the 2 Yujito Nibi, then found Second Last sealed space and linked his mental strength to Second Last. Naruto's soul power projection appeared in front of Second Last. Second Last stared at Naruto. At this moment, Naruto's body was wrapped in clouds of soul power, and his appearance could not be seen clearly. It was as if he was shrouded in clouds. Sensing Naruto's aura, Second Last asked with uncertainty, "You're Sarui?" Naruto answered, "That's me. I've encountered a problem now, and I'd like to borrow Brother Matatabi's power." Second Last lowered her head and stared at Naruto with her huge cat face formed by dark blue flames. This time, she felt another familiar aura from Naruto. She interrogated, "Why do you have the aura of 9 tails on you?" Naruto raised his hand and pressed it on the round cage. "Inject chakra into my body and you'll know the answer." Second Last Matatabi did not inject chakra into Naruto's body directly. Instead, she reminded him in advance, "Not everyone can touch my chakra. Are you sure you want me to inject my power into your body? That could cost you your life." Naruto smiled and asked, "Don't you want to know the answer?" Second Last finally controlled chakra and said, "Don't die." Naruto sighed and thought to himself, "What a kind cat. She's still thinking about me at this juncture." However, Naruto did not take Second Last's soul power for nothing. Didn't he become her chef for a month? Even Nine Tails didn't receive such treatment. Second Last's chakra surged out of the cage and Naruto felt a wave of heat. It was a burning sensation. It was as if he was putting his face on the stove. However, Egi did not seem to have any reaction. In the spiritual network, Naruto contacted Nine Tails and said, "Teacher Nine Llamas, can you do it or not?" Is there any movement in the egg? Should I summon my original body? Just as Ninetales was about to answer, Second Last Chakra actually found the connection between Naruto and Ninetales. Second Last said smugly, I knew it. How dare ordinary people take my power? It's indeed you, you old fox. At the same time, Eggy lit up with white light and a furry paw extended out of the egg, grabbing Second Last that was made up of chakra. Ninetales snorted with laughter and said, You're still as stupid as before, huh? Don't you know that curiosity killed the cat? Chapter 337. Ninetales shrank back in the cage when he saw the white claws reaching for Nibi Matatabi. Nibi Matatabi looked at the white claws vigilantly, but it was too late to dodge. The white claws stuck to her body and elongated into a white silk thread, extending directly into Nibi's sealed space along the spiritual network. Feeling the power in her body weakening, Nibi was frightened. 9 llamas. What the hell are you doing? 9 llamas replied. It's just swallowing some of your soul power. Don't be too nervous, you'll recover in a year and a half. How could Nibi sit still and wait for her death? She used chakra to launch a counterattack against the strange white thread. However, the white thread or the white tentacle was not affected at all. Instead, chakra was being swallowed even faster. Nibi turned to look at Naruto and yelled, Naruto, make this thing stop. Naruto smiled embarrassedly. Brother Matatabi, I've been cooking for you for a month. This little bit of soul power. Just take it as my salary. Don't worry, it won't cause you much harm. In less than half a year, you'll definitely be as strong as you are today. Matatabi roared, but the momentum of her body shrinking could not be stopped. Matatabi had no choice but to spread out her mental strength and contact Hachibi. Bull Spirit, come and help. Matatabi found Hachibi, who said to Killer Bee, That guy seems to be asking me for help. Killer Bee asked curiously, That arrogant guy actually asked you for help? Hachibi said affirmatively, He said he wants me to help. Killer Bee asked, What are you waiting for? Killer Bee put down the book in his hand and rushed out of the window. Ninetales had been paying attention to Nibi, so when Nibi asked Hachibi for help, he reminded Naruto, Be careful, this good-for-nothing guy is asking Bull Spirit for help. Naruto was shocked, but soon calmed down. 9 Llama Sensei, can you see if the hexagon on the egg has changed? Ninetales carefully probed Eggy with his spiritual power. The 6-pointed star on the giant egg had disappeared, and was replaced by a white halo. There were 5 golden threads wrapped around the halo. The 5 golden threads were evenly distributed, and were not connected to each other. Ninetales and Naruto shared their vision, so Naruto also saw the changes on the giant egg. How did the hexagram turn into a circle? However, this was not important. What was important was that he saw 5 golden threads on the circle. In other words, one of them was newly fused by him. The giant egg was still devouring, and Killer Bee broke into the house of the 2 Yujito. As soon as he entered the house, he saw 2 people sitting on either side of the dining table. Sarui's body fell down, and the 2 Yumu puppets' bodies remained in the same position as before they were sealed. The only difference was that his eyes were closed. Little Sarui, little Yujito. Killer Bee rushed to the 2 of them. Seeing that they were still breathing, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. But at this moment Matatabi screamed, What are you all standing there for? Save me. Killer Bee tried to establish a spiritual link with Matatabi, but it failed. Matatabi's spiritual power was extremely unstable. They could only hear Matatabi's screams from time to time. Soon even the screams stopped. When Matatabi's spiritual power stabilized again, Bull Demon and Killer Bee successfully established a spiritual link with her. Then they saw Matatabi, whose body had shrunk to half its original size. Bull Demon's eyes were wide open, and he asked in a muffled voice, What happened? Matatabi felt as if her body had been hollowed out. She curled up in a corner, extremely tired. It's okay. It's over. What's over? Killer Bee and Bull Demon asked again, but Matatabi didn't say anything. It's okay. I just had a nightmare. Tailed beasts had nightmares? This reason was really lame. Bull Demon and Killer Bee still wanted to ask, but Matatabi cut off the spiritual link. At this time, Naruto's figure reappeared. Matatabi said pitifully, "What you said just now was the truth. You borrowed my power for a period of time, and you'll return it to me?" Ninetales' soul power projection appeared. "Of course it's the truth. We're immortal. What are you worried about?" Matatabi heaved a sigh of relief. She lay in the cage and whimpered, "I thought I was going to die just now." Ninetales wanted to laugh at Matatabi, but he suddenly remembered how scared he was when part of his soul power was swallowed. But on second thought, this didn't seem to affect him from laughing at her. "Look at you. In half a year's time, I guarantee you'll recover. But don't mention to anyone that we came here. Wait until your human pillar force wakes up." Ninetales used his spiritual power to talk to Naruto privately. "What about that human pillar force?" Naruto said indifferently, "As long as Matatabi doesn't mention you, even if they know that something is wrong, they won't be able to guess it's me. And, as long as you survive for a period of time, when your half-body is resurrected, no one will have any doubts about the cause of my death. After all, they won't expect you to be split in half." After explaining to Matatabi, Naruto left. Before leaving, Kyuubi said to Tsuyu, "You brat, don't spill the beans. If you spill the beans, I won't return the chakra to you, and I will come back to beat you up. You can't take it anymore." Matatabi nodded obediently. Outside Kimogakure, Ninetales controlled Naruto's body to greet Naruto. Naruto joked, "Nine Llamas, sensei, why don't you control my body to escape?" Nine Llamas said proudly, "Why should I escape? You're my apprentice. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Naruto took control of the body again and took a step forward, but his body rushed dozens of meters away. Naruto was shocked because he didn't use any force. "Nine Llama sensei, what did you do to my body?" Ninetales snorted, "It's just a little exercise. Don't make a fuss." "A little exercise?" Naruto has been forging for nearly a year, but he didn't have such an effect. He raised his hand and touched his body again. His body wasn't very exaggerated, but the particularly strong muscles felt cool with strength. Naruto suddenly thought of something. Is it because I'm losing weight?" Ninetales replied proudly, "How about it? Do you want to lend me your body more in the future? I promise I'll make this body even stronger." Naruto replied quickly, "Okay, I'll have this opportunity soon." Ninetales was excited, really? Originally, Ninetales really wanted to control Naruto's body to run away, but he didn't because he felt that he couldn't run away. Now that he heard there was a chance to get some fresh air, how could he not be happy? Naruto replied, "Killer Bee got information from Raikage that the Mist will participate in the Woodleaf Chunin exam. I plan to invade the Mist, control someone, and return to Woodleaf to play." Chapter 338. In the Land of Lightning, Naruto sped towards the port. From there, he could take a boat directly to the Land of Water. "By the way, what did you do to my body?" Naruto tried to control his body, but a little carelessness caused him to step on the ground, creating a deep pit. Naruto had no choice but to spread out chakra and run on the land as if he was walking on water. Ninetales casually replied, "I just ate well, drank well and slept well." This sentence was complete nonsense. Under Naruto's repeated questioning, Ninetales finally told him about hunting ninja beasts and barbecuing them for the girls. Ninetales said very proudly, "These are just some weak ninja beasts. The enhancement to the human body is limited. If you can kill the leader of the group of toads and eat it, it will be delicious for the body. How about it? Do you want to try?" "The leader of the toads? You're not talking about the toad in Mount Mayaboku, are you?" Ninetales nodded and said, "Yes, that's the toad in Mount Mayaboku. I've eaten the little toad once, it was delicious. Yes, there are also the snakes in the Ryuchi cave. It's definitely good to make snake soup with them." Naruto's mouth twitched when he heard this. Is that possible? If I remember correctly, that old toad taught Rakudo, right? Too lazy to talk nonsense with Ninetales, Naruto rushed on while familiarizing himself with his body. In the sealed space of Ninetales, Ninetales looked at Naruto's soul outside the cage in a daze. After fusing with Nibi's soul, Naruto's soul made him feel a sense of oppression. A person's soul actually made him feel oppressed. This kind of thing can only be done by the Uchiha clan using the Manjikyu Sharingan. Other than that, only Rakuto can do it. Of course, Naruto's current soul can't be compared with Rakuto's, but it's hard to say if he continues to fuse. Ninetales couldn't help but mutter. If this kid were to learn illusions, with his immense spiritual power, he should be very powerful, right? At this moment, Naruto's soul suddenly opened its eyes. Teacher Ninth Lamas, what did you say is very powerful? Naruto's consciousness suddenly entered Ninetales' sealed space, giving Ninetales a fright. He chuckled and said, "No, I was just mumbling. I didn't say anything." Now that Naruto Tian had threatened it with would release, what would happen if it really learned illusion techniques? For the sake of his own safety and dignity, Ninetales decided to bury his previous thoughts in his heart and never say a word. Naruto looked at Ninetales suspiciously and said, "All right, the port is right in front of us. Let's part ways here. But I have to say this first. This time, you're not allowed to cause any trouble for me." Trouble, of course, he was talking about the women getting fatter and darker. Ninetales hurriedly promised, "Those were accidents." "Really?" Naruto was too lazy to pay attention to Ninetales and continued, "Also, you can only use the spiritual network to call chakra in the Great Snow Mountain Laboratory." Ninetales continued to promise, "You can rest assured that I will never expose myself." After explaining to Ninetales, Naruto left his body with spirit transformation and disappeared into the ground in the blink of an eye. A week later, Naruto arrived at the water country. Using the same trick, he waited outside the Mist Village and waited for the Mist Ninjas to come out. For 7 days, Naruto didn't see a team coming back from the outside, only one team coming out from the inside. Naruto didn't do anything because he wanted to go inside. But soon he regretted it. What the hell is this place? Why are there so few people? Aren't they all dead? Naruto complained and muttered, "Next time, no matter if it's coming out or coming in, I will do it." In order to avoid being discovered, Naruto couldn't practice at all during the period of hiding, so the time became very difficult to pass. At this time, in the fog, the leaves rustled, accompanied by faint footsteps. Naruto was shocked and became alert. After identifying the direction, he quietly approached. It was a small team of 4 people who were rushing out of the village. Should he attack? Naruto still wanted to find someone to go back to the village directly, but he didn't know how long he would have to wait. Attack. The moment one of the ninjas touched the ground, Naruto's spirit body drilled out of the ground along the guy's leg and drilled into the guy's body in the blink of an eye. This time, it was smoother than the time when he invaded the Thunder Village. After Naruto lived in this body, the soul power only hit once, and it broke the control of the soul of the original owner of this body. No, not only did he get the control, but the soul of the original owner of this body was also erased. Why is this guy so weak? Naruto was a little suspicious. Naruto touched the man's soul, but the scene of him devouring the soul didn't appear. It can be confirmed that the thing that has been devouring souls is the egg. The team rushed all the way, and only stopped after nearly 5 hours of running. Along the way, no one whispered to each other. Everyone was very focused, which was completely different from the Woodleaf's mission. However, Naruto felt that this was more like the style of a ninja. After the team stopped, the captain began to assign tasks. The captain was a little small, wearing the Umbu mask of the mist, short white hair, and a double-handled sword wrapped in bandages on his back. One of the 7 ninja swords of the Mist Village. Then even if this person can't see his face, he can guess that he is young but very good, trusted by the Mizukage. Chojuro took out 3 scrolls and handed them to the 3 people. "This is the mission. Destroy it after reading it." The mission was actually issued after leaving the village. This confidentiality work is much better than Woodleaf. Naruto took the scroll, opened it, and was surprised. He saw the cute Sasuke-san. The scroll continued to unfold. There were 4 people behind. The 4 people of Odogakure who should have died but didn't die. The cursed state can grow 6 arms, shoot spider silk, and attack long-range shooter Devil Child Maru. The cursed state's power is enhanced, and he is good at Earth Release Seal technique. In the Curse Seal state, a parasitic body can be split from the body to the right and left. The Curse state has 2 horns on the head, and he can control the 3 transformed people with the sound waves of the flute, coupled with the powerful Sasuke who can fly and has the curse of the heavens. Well, if he doesn't meet these 4 people of the mist, it's likely that they will be wiped out. From Naruto's point of view, the only one with decent strength in the Mist Village was Chojujuro. However, Naruto is still looking forward to meeting Sasuke. Well, I have to find a way to help the Mist Ninja find Sasuke. Taking advantage of the 5-minute break, Naruto summoned a 1-star card, and then bound the card to the body. Binding successful, skipping the novice tutorial, Naruto's eyes floated with a circle of light. Naruto contacted Dabi. "Give me the authority to open this account." Dabi replied, "What authority?" Naruto, "Chakra Unlimited Authority. I want to open a huge perception barrier." Chapter 339. Kirigakure's people may not be able to find Otogakure's ninja. But with Naruto, it's different. The perception barrier was opened, 1 kilometer, 10 kilometers, 50 kilometers. Naruto's thoughts were linked with the perception barrier, and his field of vision suddenly widened. In fact, this level of perception barrier generally uses a water ball as the middle medium. A ninja judges the situation by the reaction of the water ball. Because the perception barrier scanned too much information, a huge amount of information was stuffed into people's minds, and those with low spiritual power could even be stuffed into a fool. Therefore, only Naruto can use the perception barrier like this. No, there is also Jiraiya's Tengai formation. The picture within 50 kilometers was reflected in Naruto's mind. Every leaf swaying, every breeze blowing, and even every insect breathing. It was all in his mind. Naruto didn't feel the slightest discomfort. He followed Kirigakure's ninja on a mission to search for Otogakure's traces. Half an hour later, the target was found. However, the other party retreated the moment he stepped into Naruto's perception barrier. Apparently, he discovered Naruto's perception barrier. The people trained by Orochimaru are very good. This is the first time that the perception barrier was discovered. Even when he was in Kimogakure, it wasn't discovered. Of course, Naruto used it carefully in Kimogakure. But how can I remind these people? After all, the target is 50 kilometers away. While Naruto was worried, an arrow came straight from a distance. The target was Naruto. This arrow was not caught by the perception barrier, but Naruto saw it with his naked eye. Naruto wanted to hide. His spiritual power could react, but his body couldn't keep up. However, Naruto wasn't worried. He could just change his body. Just when Naruto was about to move, a katana swept over, and the arrow was cut in 2. The direction of the first half of the arrow was affected, and it brushed past Naruto's ear and shot behind him. Hey! The power of the broken arrow was so great that it pierced through countless tree trunks before it stopped. The enemy was very powerful. This was to be expected. Unexpectedly, Executive Jukuro was also very strong. Interesting, however, Chadru alone couldn't deal with 5 people who could use curse seals. Moreover, there was also Sasuke here. Naruto withdrew the perception barrier. The reason he hadn't been able to dodge that arrow was because of his physical fitness, but also because of the perception barrier. After all, most of Naruto's attention was focused on the perception barrier. Then he drew his saber. Naruto stroked the Mist Standard Ninja Sword, and was a little surprised. It's much better than Konoha's. Soon after, the second arrow was shot. It was faster than the last time, but this time, Naruto dodged it. Naruto raised his hand to test the change in Chakra's nature. The Yang, Earth and Fire elemental skills were useless, but the Wind elemental skills could be used, and the Water elemental skills were the most flexible. Obviously, the original owner of this body was good at Water elemental skills, and a little Wind elemental skills. Could he deal with one of the opponents? Naruto wanted to try. Wind chakra erupted, and the wind release body flicker technique, which he hadn't used for a long time, burst out, and a blood mark appeared on his back. Naruto ignored it, and went into the forest to approach the boy who shot the arrow. Tut, tut, tut. 3 arrows were shot. Naruto speed soared as he forcibly dodged and continued to approach the enemy. 100 meters, 50 meters, 10 meters. The arrows were getting denser and denser. Naruto dodged one after another. He appeared in front of Devil Child Maru. At this time, Devil Child Maru was holding his bow and arrow, and his body had entered the second curse seal state. Your arrow is not fast enough. Naruto's speed broke out again, and he slashed Devil Child Maru from behind, and said, "You will work for me from now on." Chakra's wind elemental skill was poured into the ninja blade, and this slash was very fast, but an earth wall suddenly rose and blocked in front of Naruto. If Naruto's original body was here, this earth wall would not be difficult for him. Whether it was his control over Chakra's wind elemental skill, or his azure sleeve sword, he could easily penetrate it. But this body and the weapon in his hand limited his performance. Clang! The sword slashed the earth wall, and the earth on the surface of the earth wall fell, and there was actually a rock inside. The iron sword and the rock collided, and sparks flew everywhere. Devil Child Maru, you were careless. In Jiro Square, a bald fatty with only 3 yellow hairs in the middle and 2 sides of his head clasped his hands and shouted. Obviously, this earth wall was his work. Naruto praised. Inside the earth release is rock release. Very good. You are very good. I like you very much. Jiro Square changed his hand seals, and the earth on the ground flowed and wrapped Naruto from all directions. The best design was that the earth under his feet quickly sank, so Naruto lost his place to borrow strength. Then the earth closed together and formed a mound. Earth escape, enchantment, earth prison, nothing. Combining barrier ninjutsu with earth release? Interesting. Zhilongfang laughed heartily and said, "Hee hee, a brat who only knows how to talk big can just stay inside." Devil Child Maru didn't appreciate it and said, "Mind your own business." At this time, Chojuro and the other Umbu of the Mist Village arrived. The double-bladed flounder in his hand was constantly injected with Chakra's wind elemental skill, and then he looked at the mound that sealed Naruto. At this time, the sound of a flute sounded, and a 3-meter-tall giant with a mace rushed in front of Chojuro. The mace and the double-bladed flounder clashed. Ding! The sound of metal screeching sounded for a moment, and then the huge mace was broken by the double-bladed flounder. Chojuro used the double-bladed flounder to attack the mound that sealed Naruto again. At this time, a long sword seemed to appear out of thin air and collided with it. It was Sasuke. It's only been a few months, but Sasuke's face has faded and was replaced by a cold face. The explosion sounded, and the 2 chakras wind elemental skill collided with each other. At this time, no one noticed that there was a hole in the wall of the mound that sealed Chojuro. Naruto quietly climbed out, and then the hole healed and grew back at a speed visible to the naked eye. The idea of ninjutsu is good, but the barrier is too simple and full of loopholes. Naruto restrained his aura and found a good branch and began to watch the fun. The smoke dissipated, Sasuke and Chojuro stared at each other, and then burst into speed and collided with each other again. At the same time, the sound of flute sounded, and the giant without the mace turned to deal with the Umbu of Mist Village. Devil Child Maru, draw his bow. In just one round, the Umbu of Mist Village was obviously not the opponent of Odogekure. In particular, a monster with 2 heads suddenly appeared behind them. It was Sasuke and Sasuke in his body. Naruto passed the battle in front of him to 9 Tails. 9 Llamas, Sensei, what do you think of these 4 people from Odogekure? 9 Tails replied, "It's a bit interesting." Naruto smirked. "Then let's kill them and use Edo Tensei." Chapter 340. The battle between the 4 Odogekure and the remaining 2 Umbu of the Mist was nothing to watch. It was almost one-sided, and the momentum of the complete crush ended. One of the 2 Mist Ninjas' head was crushed by the giant monster controlled by Toyo. The other was affected by Toyo's genjutsu and was shot to death by Kidamaru. The only thing worth watching was the battle between Sasuke and Chojuro. Sasuke and Chojuro, after a few rounds, Chojuro began to break out under the influence of the death of his companion. The 2-blade flounder, which was originally more than 1 meter long, began to swell under the crazy infusion of chakra, and expanded nearly 10 times. Chojuro held the two hilts with both hands and smashed the huge flounder to Sasuke. But the strange thing was that the place where Chojuro slashed was not where Sasuke was standing. He turned around and slashed behind him. Sasuke, on the other hand, stabbed Chojuro's body with Kusanagi sword in his hand. Genjutsu attack. But when did it happen? Naruto didn't see Sasuke use Sharingan. While he was wondering, a sword flashed behind him. Naruto was cut into 2 pieces. Fuck. Naruto's body was split into 2. Naruto's spiritual body floated out of his body. At the same time, he saw Sasuke's red 3-tomo Sharingan. For eyes looked at each other. Naruto changed his position, and Sasuke's line of sight followed. You can see me? Sasuke continued to stare at Naruto. Obviously, Sasuke could see Naruto in the Sharingan state, but Sasuke didn't recognize Naruto. Sharingan Genjutsu attack. Naruto originally planned to say hello, but the world in front of him was already dark. In the real world, Sasuke's Kusanagi sword in his hand slashed at Naruto's soul. The soul ignored physical attacks, but Sasuke's sword was full of chakra. The moment the sword hit his body, Naruto felt pain. The pain of the soul was more unforgettable than the physical injury. The feeling was indescribable, and it was extremely bad. But at the same time, Naruto also perceived Sasuke's position. Naruto endured the pain, and got into the sword in Sasuke's hand. Chakra Sasuke's body. The darkness disappeared, the Genjutsu attack. Fuck. It hurts. When did your unlucky child's eyesight become bad? Can't you recognize who I am? Naruto shouted. In Sasuke's soul world, Sasuke looked at the guy in front of him who was shining like a small sun and said with uncertainty, Naruto? Naruto replied, It's your father. Sasuke's face flashed with joy, and his expression turned cold. Oh, then you can go. His voice was neither salty nor light, as if he was dismissing a stranger. Is this deliberate alienation? Naruto crossed his arms, stared at Sasuke and sneered. I haven't seen you for a few months, and you've become a lot more arrogant. Sasuke didn't answer, and his spiritual force rushed toward Naruto, trying to push Naruto out of his body. But Naruto's soul body didn't even move. Sasuke was a little surprised and frowned. What do you want? Naruto continued to look at Sasuke and asked, Hihi, I want to see how much you've grown now. Then Naruto took the initiative to withdraw from Sasuke's soul world. Wait, I'll summon my body. Sasuke hurriedly shouted. Orochimaru is nearby. Naruto's body paused, and he turned back and smiled. Huh? Sasuke-san, are you worried about me? It seems that the friendship between old classmates hasn't faded. Sasuke shouted in annoyance. If you don't leave, don't think about leaving. Naruto waved his hand. He hasn't recovered yet, right? I'm not afraid of him if he hasn't recovered. It just so happens that I have something to look for him. Wait for me. I'll summon my body. Naruto's soul body rushed out of Sasuke's body and re-entered the body that was cut in 2. To be precise, it was the upper body. At this time, the body was only cut in half at the waist, and it was not dead yet. Naruto controlled the body to open its eyes, bit his finger, and swiped the ident. 1. Tie card attached to his left arm. Summoning Jutsu. There was no need to make hand seals, he just needed to pour chakra into it. Naruto's hand pressed on the ground, and the rune lines surged. A circle of light appeared in front of Naruto, and then Naruto's body was summoned. The movement on Naruto's side caused Otogekyure ninja to be vigilant, and most of them blew the flute. The magical sound entered their ears, but compared with Sasuke's 3-tomo Sharingan, it was too weak and couldn't shake Naruto's mind at all. Jurangfang used the same trick again, and the earth wall was built high, trapping Naruto. Naruto poured chakra into his feet, and the earth wave struggled for a while before subsiding. Jurangfang's chakra was expelled by Naruto. You are too weak. The earth wave rolled back toward Jurangfang and Otogekyure ninja, turning into spikes. Otogekyure ninja's reaction wasn't slow, and they jumped up one after another, but before their feet landed, more spikes sprang out from under their feet. In the absence of any leverage in midair, they couldn't escape except for flying. However, Devil Child Maru had a trick. The spider silk in his mouth wrapped around the tree in the distance, and he dodged it like Spider-Man. Zhirangfeng used chakra to protect his body, but the spikes turned into a big mouth and swallowed him directly, wrapping him into an earth ball. The outside of the earth ball was covered with runes, forming a barrier. Open for me. Zhirangfeng bombarded the earth ball, and chakra was swallowed by the earth ball. This was simply carved from the same mold as his ninjutsu. Naruto's pseudo-spiritual link said, I learned this trick from you, but the barrier used is much more advanced than yours. The earth ball began to shrink under Naruto's control, like a big hand clenching a fist. Zhirangfeng raised his hand to support the four sides, his muscles bulged and blue veins exposed. He broke out the strength of his whole body, but the clenching of the earth ball didn't stop. Open! The curse seal on Zhirangfeng's body suddenly changed, and his body entered the complete curse seal second state from the partial curse seal state. Boom! The earth ball was burst. Zhirangfeng shouted, You are not that strong. He shouted and rushed towards Naruto. Naruto took out the blue sleeve sword and said with a smile, It seems that you like more violent. The wind attribute chakra poured into the blue sleeve sword, and the sword hummed softly. Naruto rushed towards Zhirangfeng. In the distance, Devil Child Maru drew his bow and aimed at Naruto. Bang! The arrow shot towards Naruto, but Naruto disappeared. Where did he go? Devil Child Maru was startled. At this moment Sakuya shouted, Behind! Devil Child Maru heard it, but it was too late, because his head had been cut off. Naruto laughed and said, The first one. Was it the body flicker technique just now? No, it was the earth release. Naruto went through the earth release, and then killed him in one strike. The second one. Toyo. Orochimaru hasn't come out yet? He is really calm, then continue to kill. Naruto rushed towards Toyo with the wind release body blink technique. At this moment, Sasuke made his move. Lightning release body blink technique burst out, and a lightning flashed, blocking in front of Naruto. Want to save someone from my hands. Naruto's body blink technique burst out to the extreme, and a blood mark appeared on Naruto's left arm. Since Naruto's control of the wind attribute chakra strengthened, he hadn't hurt himself in a long time when he was using his own body. Now that the wound reappeared, it was not that Naruto had become weaker, but that he had erupted with more power. The blue sleeve sword slashed out, and Naruto ignored Sasuke and continued to rush towards Toyo. Sasuke activated his illusion, but at this time, Naruto was shrouded in the violent storm of chakra, and his spiritual power couldn't get close at all. The illusion was ineffective. Chapter 341. The green sleeve sword and the Kusanagi sword collided, and the wind attribute chakra wrapped around the green sleeve sword vibrated at a high frequency in the form of chakra scalpel. This sword once easily cut Kankuro's puppet into two halves, but now it was blocked by the Kusanagi sword. On the Kusanagi sword, thunder and lightning flashed, and the crackling sound exploded in his ears. At the same time, the lightning was extremely bright, and ordinary people would be blinded with just a glance. The wind attribute and thunder attribute chakra collided in the explosion. He had to admit that although Sasuke had only been by Orochimaru's side for a few short months, she had grown very quickly. But, compared to Naruto, it was still not enough. Sasuke held on for a moment, and then she was pushed up by Naruto together with her sword. She flew out with a slash. Naruto's momentum did not decrease and continued to rush towards Toyo. With Sasuke's help to buy time, the giant controlled by Toyo had rushed in front of her. The second one. Naruto's sword passed through the giant and through Toyo. Orochimaru still did not move. Is he there or not? Naruto was a little doubtful. However, killing one meant that he had one more capable subordinate, and this deal was not a loss no matter what. The next one was, Naruto rushed to Jirango. The long sword was about to slash. At this time, a huge door rose from the ground and blocked in front of Naruto. The Rashomon that Sasuke and Sasuke jointly cast. This door blocked Naruto, but another Naruto appeared behind the two. I guessed that you would attack. Naruto found the right angle and nailed the two together. Then, the same blue flame spewed out from the sword. The two were directly carbonized. Naruto collected some ashes and said, "Death is not the end." Then he looked at the last. Jirengo. After Sasuke and Sasuke died, the Rashomon that the two summoned disappeared, and Naruto walked step by step towards Jirengo. "Your opponent is me." Behind Naruto, Sasuke roared. Naruto did not turn around. In the perception enchantment, Naruto could clearly see Sasuke, who had entered the second state of the curse. To be honest, Naruto felt that the wings that looked like hands on the back were quite ugly. Naruto continued to walk towards Jirengo. Sasuke's lightning burst out, and his speed was 10 times faster than before. In the blink of an eye, he appeared behind Naruto and slashed with Kusanagi. Naruto flipped his wrist and didn't even turn his body. He held his sword with his back facing Sasuke's full blow. Naruto was sent flying in the direction where Jirengo was standing. On purpose? On purpose. The fourth one. Naruto's sword changed its direction and pierced Jirengo's heart. Jirengo was so scared that he even forgot to fight back. Naruto shook his head. "Even if you die, you have to fight to the end. This time, you can't do this in the future. What's the use of having you? In the future? Is there a future?" Jirengo's body softly fell to the ground. Naruto took a few hairs from Jirengo. 4 people were killed. Orochimaru still hasn't come out? Could it be that he was too scared to come out? Or is Orochimaru not nearby at all? Anyway, Naruto didn't find any trace of Orochimaru in the perception enchantment. Naruto's pseudo-spiritual link to Sasuke. "Is what you said true? I killed 4 people. Why hasn't Orochimaru come out? Do you want me to kill you too?" Sasuke replied in the same way. "What are you going to do?" Naruto said casually, "Nothing. I was going to go to the Mist Village for a stroll, but I didn't expect to meet you here. Then you said that Orochimaru is here, so I killed someone to force him to come out." Naruto said it casually. Sasuke was very clear about the strength of 4 people. Naruto could kill 4 people so easily, not because they were weak. But now Naruto is even stronger. Naruto, how strong are you?" Sasuke's hand couldn't help but clench. He doubted whether he could catch up with Naruto's pace. Sasuke didn't speak, and Naruto explored again with the perception enchantment. He still didn't find Orochimaru's whereabouts. Naruto suddenly shouted, "Orochimaru, I have your hands. Do you want to make a deal or not? Sasuke told me that you are nearby. Are you afraid to come out?" Naruto's shout made Sasuke jump. Naruto bought him directly. However, Naruto's shout had a significant effect. In less than a minute, Orochimaru came out with a red-haired girl with glasses. If he guessed correctly, it should be Karen. After the death of Kabuto, Orochimaru changed to train Karen? "I killed 4 of your men, and you didn't come out to save them. It seems that your physical condition is not very good." Naruto looked at Orochimaru with a playful smile. Orochimaru still has his original appearance, long hair and waist, white and beautiful. However, his chest is very flat, and it can be seen that this time he should be using the body of a man. Orochimaru smiled and said, "They died in your hands, which means that they are just trash, and trash has no right to live." Orochimaru didn't mean to blame him. Naruto didn't think that this was free and easy, but Orochimaru's situation may be really bad. Naruto looked at Orochimaru's bandaged hands and loosened hands on both sides of his body. He asked tentatively, "Did something happen to your hands after reincarnating again?" Orochimaru didn't hide it and said directly, "I have confirmed the information you gave me last time, and I also sent someone to the Noodle Hall." Naruto smiled and said, "You want to make a deal with me? Then why didn't you come out earlier?" A person walked out from behind Orochimaru. Kimimaro. This guy's illness is cured?" Naruto was surprised. At the same time, he was a little itchy. Orochimaru replied, "I also want to see your strength. If you are too weak, I will catch you directly." A very honest answer. Naruto replied, "What's the result after seeing it?" Orochimaru grinned and said, "The result is the same as the last time. You are qualified to make a fair deal with me." Naruto thought for a while, smiled, and then summoned a scroll. "Your hands are sealed in this scroll. I will use this scroll to exchange for Sasuke. Do you think there is a problem?" Orochimaru looked at Sasuke and hesitated for a moment. Then he nodded. Naruto continued. There's one more thing. I want to learn your curse seal. I want to learn the curse seal technique, not for you to put a curse seal on me. Orochimaru nodded again. Naruto also nodded with satisfaction. Also, I have been studying your android project recently. Kabuto is helping me with the research of my Edo Tensei, but I have encountered a little bottleneck. I want to ask you to give us some pointers. Orochimaru was happy and stared at Naruto with bright and even fanatical eyes and said, You are really an interesting person. I can promise you all these, but you have to tell me one thing. The information I learned from the wood leaf said that you are dead, so why are you still alive? Chapter 342. Your death was arranged by wood leaf? Orochimaru stared at Naruto. If it was arranged by wood leaf, then Naruto's appearance here was the meaning of wood leaf. What does wood leaf want to do? And Jiraiya just came to the Mist Village. Orochimaru pondered. Naruto shook his head. My death was arranged by myself. The reason? Of course, the world is so big, and I want to come out and see it. Orochimaru's brain crashed. All the possible deductions running in his head were overturned by Naruto's words that he wanted to see the world. How did you do it? Naruto didn't hide anything and immediately told Orochimaru the whole plan of faking his death. After that, he said, You have to keep it a secret for me. If Konoha knows that I'm still alive, then I won't be able to live a peaceful life in the future. And I might even be labeled as a traitor. Orochimaru stared at Naruto with a dumbfounded expression. Cloning himself? And then sealing part of the Nine Tails chakra in the clone? This information is simple to say, but whether it's cloning or the four symbols seal, not everyone can learn it. You gave me too many surprises, ha 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 ha. Interesting. It's really interesting. So you have a very deep understanding of the cyborg experiment. What else do you not understand? Naruto quickly said. It's not enough, it's far from enough. Now the clones are all short-lived. It's a miracle that they can live for more than a month. Also, they don't have independent self-consciousness. It's not a real success at all. Orochimaru looked at Naruto like a craftsman appreciating a piece of uncarved jade. Then I do know more than you. Naruto unfolded the scroll in his hand, and the four symbols seal was lifted. The soul in Orochimaru's right arm perceived Orochimaru's existence and automatically merged back. Just one? After the soul merged, the pain in his right arm disappeared directly, and the fused Byakuga cells in his body automatically began to repair his body. Orochimaru raised his right hand, and the bandage was removed, and the dried scars on his hand began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. I'll pay half of it as a deposit first, and when you finish what you promised me, I'll return the other hand to you. How about it? Naruto looked at Orochimaru with a smile. Orochimaru opened his palm and clenched it. The joy of regaining what he had lost was beyond words. He even had an impulse to snatch his other hand back immediately. But in the end he resisted. Okay, you can take Sasuke's hand. How do you want me to teach you? Naruto smiled and took out a one-star card and handed it to Orochimaru. First, drip a drop of blood on it and bind it. Orochimaru took a look at the cards at first glance. He looked at it more carefully, and the more he looked, the more he frowned. Naruto didn't urge him. He put a lot of effort into encrypting the card, and if it wasn't connected to the server's array, no one in the world would be able to crack it. This is... Orochimaru raised his head and looked at Naruto. Seeing that Naruto didn't say anything, he cut his finger and dripped a drop of blood. The next moment, Gurney's voice sounded in Orochimaru's ear. Binding successful. Initiating identity scan. Scan failed. Host, please inject chakra into the card. Orochimaru looked at Naruto again, and although he was a little surprised, he still did as he was told. Initiating identity scan. Host's information is being generated. Basic attributes panel completed. You may view it yourself. You can view it through the control panel with your spiritual power. A small hand appeared in front of Orochimaru's eyes, and the small hand pointed at an icon on the control panel. Trigger location. With a thought, Orochimaru opened the Basic Attributes panel. At the same time, Naruto used his 5-star authority to access Orochimaru's information. Name, Orochimaru. Gender. Gender? Naruto glanced at Orochimaru's body again. From the chest, it was indeed a man's body. Of course, he didn't rule out the possibility that there was a chest wrap inside. The information scan was to analyze Chakra's spiritual power and read the basic information from the card's memory. So, Orochimaru didn't have any sense of gender? He could be male or female, and he could attack or defend. Amazing Orochimaru-sama. Next was the weight, height, chakra weight, jounin level. The jounin level of chakra was too low for Orochimaru. The only possibility was that this reincarnation body limited his ability. The information below was some of his interests and hobbies, as well as his personal wishes. Orochimaru's spiritual power was very vigilant, and he couldn't scan it. All in all, the information obtained from the Basic Attributes panel only showed one thing, and that was that Orochimaru was currently very weak. Then should he kill him, and then reincarnate Orochimaru into the Edo Tensei? Let him serve him like Kabuto? How tempting. There was a saying that it was better to act than to be tempted. Then should he act? Naruto thought about it and endured it. It was understandable that Orochimaru was thirsty for talent, but it would be stupid to let a cooked duck fly away. In short, he had to get the curse seal and the cloning technology first. Orochimaru continued to familiarize himself with the system. The mission panel opened. S-grade mission. Teach the curse seal. Mission reward, 500 points. A-grade mission. Teach the cyborg technology. Mission reward, 250 points. Orochimaru glanced at Naruto. Naruto chuckled. This mission had just been issued. Do you accept the mission? A dialog box popped up on the mission panel. Orochimaru's thoughts fell on the accept button. Then the tutorial ended. While using the system, you can submit a problem report if you encounter any problems. You can also call for manual service if necessary. Finally, I wish you a pleasant experience. Little Gunny's voice disappeared, and the floating light in Orochimaru's eyes fell on Naruto. The system prompted. This is your most trustworthy ally. Orochimaru's mouth curled up slightly. Interesting thing, but then what? Naruto began to operate. Then, the system prompt sounded in Orochimaru's ears again. Chat permission granted. The next moment, Naruto took the initiative to add Orochimaru. On Orochimaru's operation panel, Naruto's profile appeared in the chat box. Naruto continued to operate and also added Kabuto Yakushi. In the snow country, Yakushi, who was studying corpses in the laboratory, was shocked by the system prompt in his ears. You have successfully added Orochimaru as a friend. He added Orochimaru as a friend? He didn't do anything at all, okay? Could it be that little Gunny and the other girls were pranking him? Yakushi opened the chat system. Orochimaru's profile suddenly appeared in the list. Kabuto Yakushi muttered. It's quite similar. When did they collect the image of Orochimaru? Orochimaru? Yakushi closed the chat system, intending to ignore this prank. But the next moment, the system prompt sounded again. Your friend Orochimaru has initiated a video call. Yakushi frowned. Hey, it's not over yet. Yakushi was about to refuse. At this time, the mission prompt said, video call connected. Orochimaru and Naruto's images appeared in front of Yakushi. Yakushi couldn't help but curse. Fuck. It's really Orochimaru. Chapter 343. Orochimaru wasn't used to Kabuto calling him by his name, and he raised his eyebrows but didn't say anything. He turned around and looked around. Naruto's video call is very interesting. They can see each other's scene, and they can also pull each other into the scene where the other party is. This scene is the scene where Orochimaru is pulled into Kabuto's room. To put it simply, the influence of the space where Kabuto is located is specially edited and projected in a three-dimensional form in Orochimaru's system. It's like a genjutsu. Orochimaru looked at the medical equipment, and a familiar feeling arose spontaneously. These equipment were all used by him then. Is this the 9th experiment? Naruto didn't intend to tell Orochimaru about the existence of the Great Snow Mountain Laboratory, and said vaguely, "No, it's another place, but the equipment is still in your laboratory." Orochimaru nodded and walked over to operate it, but his hand passed through the influence, and then he remembered that it was just a projection in front of him. Interesting, very interesting. In order to hide his embarrassment, Orochimaru changed the topic. "Did you make this thing? Although it's not as good as Akatsuki's ring, it's already very good." Naruto replied with a smile. "Not all, there are some like-minded people. If the cooperation between us is stable enough, I will introduce them to you. By the way, if you want to operate the equipment, you can also do it. There is a clone rental system in the system. You can rent your clone, then Kabuto can use points to summon your clone, and then the system will automatically link your clone with your consciousness, and you can control the equipment through your clone." Orochimaru began to experiment with the system in surprise. Naruto turned to Kabuto and said, "I will invite Orochimaru-sama over and let him guide you in the cloning project. If there is anything you don't know, you can ask Orochimaru." Orochimaru tested the clone rental system and agreed to the rental option, and asked strangely, "What is a clone?" Naruto replied, "It's an android. I just casually gave it a code name. You know how to use the system, we can communicate through it in the future. How about it? Isn't it convenient?" Kabuto rented Orochimaru's clone, and then Orochimaru appeared in the Great Snow Mountain Laboratory in the form of a shadow clone. The moment their hands touched, Orochimaru couldn't help but exclaim, "This is so interesting." But soon he noticed the potential threat of the card and shook his head. "With it you can know my movements at any time, right?" This sentence was right. Was a good question. To a certain extent, Narumaru can't cancel location. It can be said that as long as Naruto wanted to bind this thing, Orochimaru's live broadcast would be the whole day. After all, this wasn't a lie, and it was the truth. Orochimaru looked at Naruto. Naruto laughed and said, "Don't you also know my secret? If you tell Konoha that I'm still alive, then I will also be in big trouble. Then I can teach him now." Narumaru shook his head. "Don't worry, you can talk about the curse and the androids matter later." Naruto snapped his fingers and the call ended. Kabuto was still in a state of confusion. Naruto and Orochimaru made a deal? Both of them were talking and laughing? That's not important. What's important is, I called Orochimaru. Because he learned from Naruto. But to be honest, he suddenly felt good. After hanging up the call with Kabuto, Naruto came to Chojuro's side. Naruto's. If he smelts, he doesn't know what good things will be decomposed. The last time he sold the beheading knife, he made a lot of money, Naruto grabbed the. Chojuro's hand was still holding the. Chojuro's knuckles were white as if they were growing. Naruto wrapped Chojuro's hand with his palm, and used the electric field to affect Chojuro's nervous system, making his skeletal muscles relax. Then Naruto found that Chojuro wasn't dead yet. Originally, Naruto planned to grab a few hairs and use the Edo Tensei, but it's different if he's alive. He can't control Chojuro's body to sneak into the Mist Village. When Orochimaru saw Naruto treating Chojuro, he couldn't help but think of Tsunade and said, "I have an interesting news. I think you will be interested." Naruto didn't turn his head and said, "Say it." Naruto is the only one in the world who can talk to Orochimaru so casually. No, Yakushi Kabuto is even more awesome than Naruto. Orochimaru didn't care about Naruto's attitude. He looked at Naruto's medical technique with appreciation and said, "I know a little about Tsunade's betrayal of the village. At the same time, I also know that the Akatsuki's people are eyeing Tsunade and want her to join them." Naruto's hand movement stopped. "When is this news?" Orochimaru replied, "Yesterday. It should be the latest news." Naruto took a deep breath. Although he was a little surprised that Tsunade betrayed the village. But Naruto believed that Tsunade wouldn't join the Akatsuki. Will the Akatsuki give up? I'm afraid they'll use force. Naruto sighed. Why is the Akatsuki interested in Tsunade? In the past, Tsunade wasn't in the village. Why didn't they look for her? Orochimaru frowned, and the pain in his left arm made him smile. Because her identity is different. Now she's a traitor. Naruto understood this, but he just wanted to complain. Naruto's hand stopped healing Chojuro, but Chojuro moved instead. His fingers twitched as if he was about to wake up. Naruto slapped him again, and he fainted again. Do you know where Tsunade is? Orochimaru replied. If I knew, then the Akatsuki would have already found her. This sentence. There's nothing wrong with it. Then he can't go to the Mist Village anymore. Naruto first sealed the double-blade flounder in the scroll. This thing must be taken away. As for Chojuro, Naruto decided to keep him in the Snow Mountain first. Naruto's psychic link shouted in the spiritual network. Is anyone free now? Come and take 2 people back. Gurney replied. I'm applying a mask. Naruto made a prompt decision. You're the one. Kurenai did not give in. I'm not wearing any clothes yet. I'm taking a bath. She didn't. She just took off her clothes. She only took them off after you told her to. Naruto couldn't believe that a person could be as lazy as Gunny. Hurry up and put it on. I'll summon you in a minute. I have a lot of people here. If you don't want to come over naked, hurry up. Little Gunny replied. No, she just undid a button. Gurney shouted. Little Gurney. Needless to say, Gunny and Little Gunny were already engaged in a fierce battle in the snowy mountain. At this moment Big Gunny said, Summon me. Naruto said righteously. You can't always go along with her. You'll spoil her. Big Guinness replied. But they are tearing each other's clothes apart. Naruto was at his wit's end. What was this? As the saying goes. As the saying goes, as the saying goes, as the saying goes. As the saying goes, as the saying goes, as the saying goes. 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 As the saying goes, as the saying goes, the saying goes. 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 As the saying Naruto summoned Big Gunny. Under Naruto's instruction, Big Gunny wore a mask and covered his face. Sasuke, you should also leave with her. Naruto planned to send Sasuke to the snow country. However, Sasuke said coolly, I'm not going. I want to continue to follow Orochimaru. What the fuck? Naruto cursed in his heart. Chapter 344. Sasuke doesn't agree? Naruto stared at Sasuke, and Sasuke looked at Naruto indifferently. The two of them stared at each other like this. Stare, Naruto suddenly said. Sakura Haruno is also in the snow country. Sasuke's face became gloomy, and he replied coolly, I guessed it. Naruto froze for a moment. Guessed it? How did you guess it? Sasuke shifted his gaze elsewhere and replied coldly. I also know the news of your death, and I also know that Sakura Haruno was killed by you who turned into 9 tails in that accident. Since you didn't die, she shouldn't die either. Well, Naruto admitted that little Sasuke's little brain worked quite fast. You didn't come because Sakura Haruno is with me? Sasuke looked up at Naruto coolly. Naruto curled his lips and turned to Orochimaru and said, the previous deal with Sasuke is invalid. If you want to occupy this kid's body, continue to work hard. Orochimaru looked at the two of them in amusement and said seriously, Are you serious? Naruto grinned and said, Well, I'm serious. When the time comes, you just have to leave me a strand of his hair. I will reincarnate this kid in Edo Tensei. And then, humph. How should he punish him? Serving a foot basin? That's Hinata's job. Well, Hinata didn't serve it to him, so he just imagined it. But it's definitely not going to run away from serving tea. Naruto stared at Sasuke with a smirk. Sasuke said with a cold and arrogant face, I won't let you have this opportunity. Naruto rolled his eyes, too lazy to pay attention to this idiot, and said to Orochimaru, Since this condition is invalid, can I change another condition? Orochimaru nodded and said, yes. Then what should he let Orochimaru do? Living corpse reincarnation? Naruto felt that it was quite difficult. If he really died one day, he felt that Edo Tensei was easier. Then it seems that there's nothing to trade? Naruto's eyes looked at Karen, who was beside Orochimaru. A thought flashed through his mind. Should he switch with this girl? According to her bloodline, this girl belongs to the Uzumaki clan, the same clan as Naruto. It's natural to take care of her clan. However, Naruto found that this girl was staring at him with hostility. Why? Is it because of Sasuke? As if I remember correctly, Karen has always liked Sasuke. Well, this probably can't be exchanged. Even if Orochimaru agrees, it's not interesting to exchange for someone who hates me. Naruto doesn't have masochistic tendencies, at least he thinks so. After thinking about it, Naruto found that he couldn't think of a plan that moved him. How about this? The condition is to establish a long-term cooperation. After the first stage of cooperation is completed, I will also share some of my research. How about we discuss it together? To be honest, I'm also studying Jutsu of Immortality. My initial idea is to restore the human body through cloning, then use Edo Tensei to summon the soul, and then use spirit transformation jutsu to transplant the soul into a new body to achieve the purpose of resurrection. Orochimaru smiled with an ugly face. It was ugly, mainly because of the pain from his left hand. Very good idea. I'm already looking forward to cooperation between us. Naruto replied. I'm also looking forward to it. By the way, as an ally, help me keep an eye out for news about Tsunade. Orochimaru nodded. Of course, compared to Tsunade being with the Akatsuki, I'm more willing to have Tsunade be with you. But that girl probably doesn't want to see you abuse Edo Tensei. After all, she resurrected the broken body. Orochimaru shrugged and made a helpless expression as he said this. Naruto smiled and said, it's okay. I'm not the kind of person who kills innocent people. The ones I use, are all similar to criminals. Besides, if killing is really heinous, then each of us is guilty of heinous crimes, right? Orochimaru laughed and agreed. Interesting sentence. You're much cuter than those guys who have blood on their hands but speak of benevolence, righteousness, and morality. Degeno was still standing beside Naruto, holding Chojuro in his hand as if he was holding a chick. Since Sasuke wanted to continue following Orochimaru, Naruto couldn't force him, so he said to Degeno, okay, since the other person doesn't want to leave, you can take one of them back. Degeno nodded and triggered the reverse summoning technique on the card. A circle of light rose and enveloped Degeno in it. At this time, a small white snake with the thickness of a finger quietly bit Degeno's trousers. Naruto noticed this snake through the perception barrier. At the same time, Degeno also noticed it. In the spiritual network, Degeno asked Naruto for instructions. How should we deal with it? Naruto said straightforwardly, kill it. The teleportation circle was activated, and a few fine iron sand overflowed from Degeno's prosthetic arm, enveloping the white snake, then connected its head and tail to form a steel wire, instantly crushing the white snake. Bang! White mist rose, and Degeno was teleported back to the snowy mountain. Naruto didn't even look at the dead snake on the ground. He took out a 1-star card and handed it to Sasuke. Here, drip a drop of blood on it. Sasuke hesitated whether to take it or not. Naruto threatened. If you don't take it, I'll beat you until you do. I'm stronger than you now. If you don't want to lose face and get beaten up. Naruto gave Sasuke a knowing look. The two of them were in a stalemate for a while. In the end, Sasuke took it. Drip a drop of blood to bind it. Naruto stared at Sasuke until Sasuke bound the card. Then he waved at Orochimaru and said, then this is the end of the discussion. You have more people, so the battlefield will be cleaned up by you. Naruto left with the wind body blink technique. It was like a gust of wind that blew into the forest and disturbed a few leaves, but it soon disappeared without a trace. Orochimaru stared at the dead snake on the ground. There was no disappointment on his face. Instead, he smiled even more happily. Interesting. Orochimaru continued to operate the system, and saw a 3D theater option in the entertainment area. He clicked on it. Then a row of lists appeared. Wind and Cloud Princess 1, Wind and Cloud Princess 2, The Last Swordswoman. The covers of the 3 movies were very beautiful and moving. Wind and Cloud Princess 1 showed a shy smile of Snow Breeze. It was very cute, and people couldn't help but feel an urge to protect her. Wind and Cloud Princess 2 showed a bloodied Wind and Cloud Princess standing in a sea of corpses and looking into the distance. Not only was the scene lifelike, as if it was right in front of his eyes, he could even smell a trace of blood and rust. This was the effect of sensory information, just like illusions. The picture of The Last Swordswoman was even more shocking. On one side of the picture was a stunningly beautiful Kananchiba holding a longsword, and on the other side was a ninja. It was a perfect combination of austere and cool. Orochimaru clicked on The Last Swordswoman. The scene in front of him changed, and a virtual reality 3D movie was shown. However, the movie only played for 5 minutes. Just as Orochimaru was enjoying it, it suddenly stopped. A window popped up. This movie is a paid movie. If you want to watch the full version, please purchase it with points. Orochimaru clicked on the purchase button. A notification popped up. You don't have enough points. Purchase failed. Then a guide popped up. 100 tricks to earn points. Mom won't have to worry about me not having enough points anymore. Orochimaru hesitated for a moment and clicked on it. Chapter 345. After leaving Orochimaru's place, Naruto went to the underground trading house alone, and issued 2 missions as the vice president. One was about Akatsuki, the other was about Tsunade. Fortunately, they were all successfully released. Because Akatsuki was also a registered mercenary in the underground trading house, the mission money was doubled. But this was nothing to Naruto. Not to mention the money earned by Hinata, the income of Snow Country was enough for him to squander. After finishing this matter, Naruto returned to the snowy mountain. The Edo Tensei of Otogekyure was resurrected. Like the previous Edo Tensei, the 4 of them chose to rely on Naruto under coercion. Believe me, you will be glad to have the opportunity to be summoned by me today. And I promise that you will be resurrected one day. The 4 of them looked at each other, then knelt on one knee to Naruto. This was the first time someone gave him such a big salute. It felt really good. It felt like turning into a white cloud, floating with the wind to the sun under the vast blue sky. It was also intoxicating. I chose you in addition to your fighting ability. Another reason is that you have a certain foundation in Fuinjutsu. As you can see, the system you use is compiled by me with Talisman Array. When you have time, exchange the teaching materials and learn them well. Otogekyure's operating system found Talisman Array Compilation Guide, 3-dimensional Talisman Array Compilation, Electronic Computer and Talisman Array Transcription, 4-dimensional Talisman Array Encryption. In the learning panel, each of them is divided into 4 volumes, and the upper volume has the same price of 100 points. The middle volume varies. Most of them are 500 points and require level 2 star authority. The lower volume is more expensive, with 800 points and requires level 3 star authority. Is this all the knowledge used in the entire spiritual network? No. Of course not. Naruto didn't intend to create a national programmer to compete with him for business. If you want to learn the real core knowledge, the last volume, Super, requires Naruto to unlock the authority alone to learn it. In other words, if you want to learn, you have to become yourself first. The 4-man team of Otogekyure received 200 points for completing the novice mission. At this time, they listened to Naruto's instructions and exchanged for 1. Otogekyure's operation of the system, Naruto's super authority dog naturally knows. Naruto was very satisfied with the attitude of these guys. Then, without saying anything else, he summoned ink, which he had obtained from the underground trading house previously. These 4 will form a team with you in the future. Together, you will establish a mercenary group in the underground market. At the same time, the 5 of them received a quest notification from the system. Mission notification. Received exclusive mission. Establish registered mercenaries and purchase children. The mission didn't ask if they accepted it. It appeared on everyone's operation panel directly. Mission description. There is no need to choose the so-called aptitude. Although some people may not necessarily become excellent ninjas, they may have great achievements in other aspects. Mission progress. Beginner reward. 0/50 people 50 points. Intermediate reward. 0-1000 people 200 points. Advanced reward. 0-1000 people 500 points. There is no upper limit to the reward. Every 10,000 people recruited counts as a high-level reward. To be honest, all 5 of them were shocked when they saw the number of people to be purchased. 10,000 people? How much is that? And there is no upper limit. Ink couldn't help but ask, do you really want to recruit so many people? How much will it cost? Ink felt that he couldn't calculate it with his fingers. If there is so much money, who would still be a mercenary? Naruto smiled and said, you don't have to worry about the money. All the expenses are public funds. We are not short of money. At the same time, a message popped up on all the rich businessmen's pages at the same time. The greatest pain in life is that people die without spending money. Then let me ask you, do you want to live forever? Do you have a loved one who wants to be resurrected? Click on it, and I will fulfill your wish. This activity can be paid after service. For a while, all the rich businessmen with identity cards couldn't sit still. At first, most of them didn't believe it, but they still clicked on the message. Then there were all kinds of hesitation. This is fake. How can the dead be resurrected? Isn't that something only a god can do? But what if it's true? He thought about his property and his young and beautiful wives. When he dies, these will be passed down to their sons. This is a matter of course in traditional philosophy. But, what if I can live forever? Then he chewed on the sentence. The greatest pain in life is that people die without spending money. Some people had clicked on the message more than 10 times. They read it over and over again, word by word. Then, they looked at the person who sent the message, the highest level management. Then they looked at the sentence that said they can pay after service. This day and night, for everyone who received the message, was a kind of torture. If they believed this kind of news, they might be treated as fools. But if they lost a chance to live forever because of this, then they would be a *king idiot. But, what if this is a trap? Time passed by minute. Their blood boiled, and they became calm. Then some of them had some ideas. Many very cautious people looked at the message again. After confirming that there was no mention of going personally, they had the idea of sending people. Then they submitted their ideas to the complaint. The rich even clicked on the manual service. After verifying that they could send people, some rich businessmen finally made up their minds. This was the style of the steady party. There were also people who dared to gamble and fight. Those people thought that since the other party didn't do anything to them when they were in the snow country, then the other party didn't intend to kill or capture them. How could they miss this miracle of resurrecting the dead? This was Naruto's mobilization plan for the rich businessmen. For the snow country it was much simpler. Naruto just told Kono that he needed money and plans for the construction of the snow country. Fonghua Little Snow immediately agreed. She was a queen. Naruto was lecturing several people on the second floor of the Great Snow Mountain. By the way, you have another task. You go to the underground exchange to take the task of collecting information about the Akatsuki, and the task of collecting information about Tsunade, and then pay attention to it while collecting people. What is the Akatsuki? Others may not know, but the group of 4 in the original Audiobook was very clear. Looking at Naruto again, they suddenly realized that they were going to do something big. This kind of big move is not inferior to Orochimaru, or even bigger than Orochimaru. In addition to the excitement, they were also a little scared. Naruto comforted them. Don't be afraid of death, you are already dead, and I can resurrect you even if you die again. Of course, pay attention to those who conceal. I don't need to teach you this, right? Naruto looked at the 4 in the original Audiobook. The 4 nodded one after another. Naruto smiled and said, if you really encounter a difficult opponent and get sealed, just send me a message before being sealed, and I can save you. After the task of Edo Tensei was issued, Naruto took a deep breath. He was going to the Rain Country. That was the headquarters of the Akatsuki. If there was any news, it would be the main point. As for the previous preparation, it was just a safety measure. Ninth Lama, Sensei, we are going to see God. Are you afraid? Chapter 346. God. What God? Nine-Tails was a little disapproving. Naruto said with a fierce face, a guy with 6 paths of reincarnation. Do you think he's a god? Nine-Tails was stunned, then said disdainfully, although I don't know how you know about Rinnegan. I've only seen that old man have that kind of thing. Now, it's impossible. Nine-Tails didn't believe it. Naruto pursed his lips and said with a smile, then I'll let you see it when the time comes. To be honest, I'm suddenly a little nervous now. Nine-Tails said straightforwardly, where are we going next? Naruto's spirit body took a deep breath, trying to ease his nervousness, but the spirit body was not like the body. There were no bones, no flesh, and no internal organs. With this breath, the golden Naruto blew up like a balloon, looking a little funny. But before he could exhale, his stomach deflated back. After all, Naruto didn't inhale air, but the wandering soul power in the spirit world, which was directly absorbed. The soul power fused into the spirit body, warm and comfortable, and also had a relaxing effect. He replied, I'm going to a place called Rain Country. As for you, just continue to stay by the girls' side, take them to do missions, and then continue to eat delicious food to nourish your body. But you can't just eat, you have to let them cultivate. If the pig incident happens again, you won't have the chance to come out and breathe in the future. I'll do what I say. Nine-Tails wanted to retort Naruto. Why are you pretending in front of me? But after thinking about it, he decided not to. A good fox doesn't lower himself to people's level. This time, he'll let him pretend, and next time, well, next time, I'll deal with him. Nine-Tails' inner thoughts were very exciting. Naruto saw that Nine-Tails didn't answer, so he asked, what's wrong? Do you have a problem? Nine-Tails made a rather kind expression. His hair was soft, his teeth were retracted, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised. Why would I have a problem? The last time was a complete accident. Naruto called the mutant avatar Shiba Inu. The Shiba Inuchi's ability to act cute was much better than Nine-Tails. It squinted its eyes and stretched its tongue out like a real dog. It licked its face and used its tail-wagging skill. Vroom vroom vroom. Faster and faster, the Shiba Inu took off. Naruto looked at this scene speechlessly. To be honest, it was quite comical, especially when you saw the snow-white face under the golden hair flattering you. But he was also a bit of an idiot. This is definitely not my doppelganger. It must have mutated. Naruto comforted himself. Alright, you can become the earth whale. The Shiba Inu took the order and landed on the ground from mid-air. The moment its body touched the ground, the surrounding soil gathered towards the Shiba Inu. A big dog stretched and turned into a fat pippy whale. Her little butt was shaking and her tail was wagging. She was a little cute. Naruto's face was dark. This is definitely not my doppelganger. A portal opened in Naruto's belly, and the waves rolled, and a neat staircase extended to Naruto's feet. Naruto's soul left his body and drilled into the body of the earth whale. The earth whale dived into the ground and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Half a month later, Naruto came to the Rain Country. Naruto didn't rush in. Looking in from the outside, the Rain Country was very strange because it was sunny all around. Only the clouds covering the Rain Country were raining. Naruto knew that this was Tendo Pain's perception ninjutsu, Rain Tiger Freedom Jutsu. It was to integrate chakra into the heavy rain and perceive every movement of a country with the rain. This was very similar to the perception barrier, but the difference was that the general perception barrier was maintained by several, or even dozens of people, but Rain Tiger Freedom Jutsu was completed by Tendo Pain alone. What's there to be afraid of? I can also make a perception barrier of dozens of kilometers. Naruto muttered to cheer himself up. Then he repeated the same trick and watched from a distance, waiting for the ninjas of the Rain Country to pass by. This time, Naruto was much luckier than when he was in the Mist Village. On the third day after Naruto sneaked in, A group of people rushed back from the outside. For people wore convenient ninja clothes outside and changed into raincoats before returning to the rain country. Of course, some people held umbrellas. This bad weather, when will it end? The person next to him scolded. Pain-sama is also thinking about the safety of the people of the village. When the rebels are eliminated, naturally, it won't rain all day. That person was obviously a person who felt good about himself and was not disciplined. He was about to open his mouth to resist a few more words, but his expression suddenly stiffened and his body trembled. Perhaps because his popularity was relatively poor, the people next to him didn't even care about him. At this time, Naruto had successfully lived in this body. As for the earth whale, if he went in like this, he would definitely be discovered by the other party. Naruto arranged with the earth whale through spiritual link. You wait for my news outside first. Remember, don't step into the rain country. If the rain in the rain country has a tendency to expand, you will drill into the ground. Understand? The earth whale quickly responded. Understood. It's clear. Naruto was the only one holding an umbrella in the group. Everyone walked into the rain together. When the rain hit the umbrella, Naruto could clearly perceive Chakra's fluctuations in it. Rain Tiger Freedom Jutsu. It's not a big deal. When I return to the snow country, I will use the Snow Freedom Jutsu. Hehe, not to mention a day or two, it won't be a problem to maintain it for a year and a half. Well, I'm not worse than him. I just lack a pair of Rinnegan. Walking into the rain country, Naruto learned the name of this person from the words of his teammates. He was called Blowfish. What was very vivid was that this guy's hairstyle was also like a hedgehog's hair. Coupled with his bad temper, he was like a human blowfish. Naruto followed the team all the way to the place where the task was handed in. The rain outside continued, and no one came to trouble him. This made Naruto somewhat relieved. It seemed that they didn't discover his existence. Blowfish, let's go? Let's go to the bar at the end of the alley for a drink? Bar. Because he was still underage, Naruto had never touched alcohol. He was about to refuse, but a plan came to his mind. Going to the bar was good. He was worried that he didn't know other information about this body. After a while he would go to the bar, drink a lot, and then pretend to be drunk. In this way, someone should send him home. Even if they didn't send him home, he could pretend to be drunk and forget where his home was. I'm really a genius. This plan is really F***king perfect. Okay, it's my treat. Naruto laughed heartily. The person who called Naruto was stunned. Then he patted Naruto's shoulder and said, "Good boy, you're finally acting. I've been waiting for your wine for 16 or 17 years. It's not easy. It's really not easy." Then he continued to pat Naruto a few more times. Naruto was slightly surprised. The person I kidnapped this time was originally a stingy person? Ta. Fortunately, this guy's friend was a bit of a retard. Otherwise, I would have been exposed. Well, I'll have to get some information from him later, when we drink. I have to ask this guy if there's anything else I need to pay attention to. Naruto was a little nervous and excited. Unconsciously, he seemed to like pretending to be another person. This feeling was very fun. When he acted like someone, he felt a sense of accomplishment. Right, I have to find an opportunity to bind an identity card, and then contact Gurney. Gurney is the Oscar winner. Chapter 347. There were 4 people in the team, 1 captain and 3 members. The standard was 3 men and 1 woman. Naruto and one of them wanted to go to the bar, and the other 2 said that they would go back to their own homes, so they dispersed. After arriving at the bar, Naruto let the other party order first, and then shouted, "Same." He thought that there would be fewer mistakes this way, but he didn't expect the other party to be surprised. "You also want to drink green bamboo choi? Did I hear wrong? This wine is very strong. You've never touched it before." Did he act wrong again? Naruto felt suffocated in his heart. At the same time, he complained that he found such an unsociable guy this time. Naruto pretended to be indifferent and said, "Today, I'm in a bad mood. I want to change my taste." He didn't expect this sentence to be wrong again. The other party was surprised. You don't care about your baby sister? Damn. This guy with a terrible appearance actually has a sister. Then is his sister a flower or a phoenix? Phew. Naruto took a deep breath, turned his head and frowned as if he was tired of the rain outside the house, and said impatiently, "Just a few drinks, it's not a problem." The friend patted him on the shoulder again. To be honest, Naruto didn't like others to touch him. But he still resisted and pulled the other party's hand away. After the drinks and dishes were served, 3 glasses of wine were drunk. Naruto planned to interrogate this guy about his information and talk about the past, but who knew that his eyelids would roll and his body would tilt and directly fall to the ground drunk. Damn it! Is the wine too strong? Or is this guy too cowardly? When Naruto was with Tsunade in the past, Tsunade always ate meat and drank wine. With his current appearance, if Tsunade saw him die, she would laugh like crazy. However, Naruto got what he wanted. After the body controlled by Naruto got drunk, the guy next to him laughed for 5 or 6 minutes, paid for the wine, and then carried him away. The destination was what Naruto wanted to know, the home of this body. When he reached home, he heard the person carrying him complain, "Little pufferfish, this brother of yours. I really have to give it to him." In order to not have to pay for the wine, he drank 3 cups of green bamboo jade in a row. Tell me, how did I get to know such a scoundrel like your brother? Little blowfish? Without an identity card or a perception barrier, Naruto could only eavesdrop on their conversation. Of course, Naruto could also let the spirit escape from this body, but God knows if that would attract the attention of Pain of Heaven, so Naruto planned to stay in his body. Naruto used the ears of this body to eavesdrop on their conversation. In his mind, he imagined the image of this guy's sister. Small. The sea. How dare you? In that case, his sister should be a monster with a face as terrible as his own, with a head that was as straight as his own, right? And then? Should I put on some smoky makeup and wear a nose ring? Hee hee. The scene in his mind was too beautiful. So beautiful that it was suffocating. Then spray some cheap perfume, and wear a pair of broken heels? Then put on a few iron chains. Naruto felt that he should stop imagining things. If he continued imagining things, he might be struck to death by his own lightning. Then he heard the sound of footsteps, the sound of the door opening, and the touch on his body. Naruto guessed that he should have been sent to the bed. Then he heard the sound of this body's dog friend saying goodbye. Then his shoes were taken off. His clothes were peeled off layer by layer. What was the girl doing? If it was a normal undressing, then so be it. This guy's sister's hand was actually touching his body. Heavens! This guy wouldn't be having an affair with his sister, right? Then, what was she going to do to him when he was drunk? Naruto's spirit frantically swallowed non-existent saliva. His face was sluggish, and there was a little fear in his eyes. In addition to the fear, there was expectation? King expectation. I am definitely not a pervert. I want to cut off the sensory connection with this body. I absolutely cannot fall from grace like this. Naruto swore in his heart. In the end, however, he did not do anything. That was not right. He did do one thing, and that was to quietly wait. However, to his disappointment, after his shoes, socks, trousers and clothes were removed, nothing happened. Half an hour passed by, all was silent. Naruto felt displeased. He felt as though he was about to take off his pants for you to show me this. Next, Naruto began using chakra to break down the alcohol in his body. 1 hour later, all the alcohol in his body had been released and his body finally woke up. Naruto opened his eyes and saw a somewhat simple but very clean bedroom. Naturally, the most eye-catching thing was the little girl lying beside his bed. This little girl did not have an afro like him. Instead, she had a head of black hair tied behind her back with a beautiful red ribbon. When Naruto got up, the little girl sensed him and raised her head in a daze. This time, Naruto was able to see the little girl's face. She was very delicate and pretty, with long eyelashes, a small nose and red lips. She did not have any makeup on her face, but she was very fair and clean. There were also small beads of sweat on the tip of her nose. However, she kept her eyes closed. When she raised her head, she carefully touched Naruto. This was a blind girl. In an instant, Naruto understood why the little girl had to touch him when taking off his clothes. It was because she could not see. The little girl touched Naruto's body and happily said, "Brother, you are awake. I knew you were not drunk. You must have pretended to be drunk so that you could not pay for the drinks, right?" Ah, what was so surprising about pretending to be drunk so that he could not pay for the drinks? What kind of twisted education did this little girl receive? Faced with such a little girl, Naruto did not know how to respond for a moment. That little pufferfish. Brother was indeed pretending to be drunk. "All right, you can go back to your room and rest now." The little girl was stunned. "Why did you call me little pufferfish?" "Brother, don't you always call me pufferfish?" "But I like whatever you call me." "Pufferfish?" Naruto thought of the pig. After Tsunade disappeared, Shizen also disappeared, and took the pig with her. TSK, this name, gave a pig's name. Naruto took a deep breath. "That pufferfish, go back to your room and sleep." "Brother, I have other things to do." "Wait." Since they were brother and sister, the information obtained from the sister's mouth must be the most reliable. When the little girl got up, Naruto suddenly changed his words. "Wait. That pufferfish, tell me about the past. Brother wants to talk to you today." This time the plan went smoothly. Pufferfish knew but did not speak. She eloquently talked about all the shameful things her great brother had done since he was born. No, since Pufferfish could remember. Stealing manhole covers, buying scrap iron, cutting wires, and buying copper wire. In short, fortunately, there were no trains in this country. Otherwise, the train tracks would not be let go. With such an unscrupulous brother and a little black flower-like sister, they lived all the way until now. To be honest, this story did not sound easy, and it was a little sad. At the same time, it also made Naruto encounter another trouble. That is, the moment he took control of this body, although the little black flower's brother did not die, he would definitely lose his memory after he left. At that time, would he still be able to take care of a blind sister? Brother, your greatest act was to steal Brother Seahorse's favorite gold pen, and then sell it for 100 silver taels. And Brother Seahorse does not know until now. The little girl was full of pride and smiled foolishly. Naruto's face was full of MMP. Who is Brother Seahorse? He is the good person who just carried him back. Bastard. Naruto originally felt that he was shameless enough, but he found that there was always a mountain higher than a mountain. Chapter 348. Through his conversation with the little pufferfish, Naruto was able to summarize the characteristics of this body. In short, he was a ruffian who would do anything to raise his little sister. He was a good brother who was filled with humanity even though he was a bastard. These were the characteristics of his little sister's identity. In the eyes of others, he was just a pitiful bastard. While chatting with the pufferfish, Naruto had already bound himself with a 1-star identity card. In the spiritual network, Naruto looked at Gurney, who had a crafty look in his eyes, and said, "What? You look like you're confident in this role?" Gurney's eyes were still fixed on the spiritual network. He sighed and said, "It's too easy. Leave it to me." The next day, a pufferfish with a 180-degree change from his hairstyle to his clothes stood in front of the mirror in his own home. The pufferfish head was gone. Following Gurney's instructions, Naruto took a thorough bath and got a haircut. After washing up, the pufferfish was no longer covered in mud. He looked like a new person. The sloppy appearance of the past was gone. He even had a mature beauty that had weathered the ravages of time. In addition to his good physique as a ninja, he had a straight and strong body. To be honest, he was not that ugly. He was very clean, very neat, very good. But he did not look like the pufferfish of the past. After following Gurney's instructions and equipping himself, Naruto felt very unconfident. Will this work? Why do I feel like my original persona has collapsed? Won't I be exposed immediately? Gurney was very calm. What do you know? This is not a collapse of my persona, it's a sublimation of my persona. In the past, this brother and sister have suffered all kinds of hardships, all kinds of tiredness and pressure for too long. It's time for them to wake up and explode. Naruto did not understand what Gurney was talking about. he asked suspiciously. Wake up to what? Gurney said matter-of-factly. His looks? In the past, this brother has received all kinds of strange looks and unfair treatment, because he doesn't know how to take care of himself. He's too ugly. Naruto silently squatted down and picked up the cut hair. He said worriedly, I don't know if this hair can be glued back. Guanai shouted. Put down that hair. Thus, regardless of whether Naruto was willing or not, a fake pufferfish whose appearance had changed drastically from head to toe began his life as a fake pufferfish. Walking out of the house, the rain continued to fall. Naruto changed into a raincoat to cover himself, which did not match his original style. The country of rain was a country with a rather peculiar architectural style. There were many tall buildings that seemed to be made up of pipes. It was like a row of pipe organs. The color scheme was rather monotonous and dark, making it seem a little heavy. At the same time, because of the erosion of the rain, there was a fishy smell in the air. Naruto walked on the street, collecting useful information from the conversations of the passers-by. This search lasted for a week. In a week, Naruto learned that people in this country generally knew of pain's existence, and believed that pain was a god that descended from the sky. But when it came to what a god looked like, there were many different opinions. At first, Naruto thought that it was 6 paths pained 6 people. But later, he found out that only a few of them were satisfied. The rest were just nonsense. In short, most people had never seen a god. This was all useless information. The relatively useful thing was that these people's descriptions of angels were very uniform. Not to mention the words holy and solemn. The common thing was that they all had a pair of snow-white wings made of white paper, which was Conan. Another thing was that there was an area in the Eastern District that was not open to the public. Civilians were not allowed to enter. It was a forbidden area. Naruto suspected that the Akatsuki's stronghold was likely to be there. Pufferfish. You're here to take the mission too. In the entire country of Rain, the only person who could call Pufferfish so intimately was this guy's best friend. The guy who had his gold watch stolen by Pufferfish. Naruto looked at the person who called him and nodded in greeting. The person ran over. Although you've changed your appearance for a while, I still can't recognize you. Hippocampus teased Naruto's appearance. Naruto was too lazy to complain. As long as his identity was not exposed, everything was fine. Gurney's idea could be considered a stroke of luck. At the very least, he did not have to pursue his original appearance after changing his appearance. The difference from the past could be understood as liking a certain girl. Say, are you still not going to tell me which girl you've taken a fancy to? Don't worry, I'll keep my mouth shut. Besides, who knows, I might be able to give you some ideas. As he spoke, Hippocampus poked Naruto with his hand. Naruto changed the topic. I saw that there's a mission in the Eastern District to help repair the underground pipes. What about you? What kind of mission do you intend to take? The country of Rain was in a state of seclusion. Generally speaking, there were very few missions out of the country. Most of them were village missions. Thus, when the ninjas were free, they would take on some private missions that did not require a team. At the mention of missions, Hippocampus looked around mysteriously. After confirming that no one was eavesdropping on them, he whispered, "Don't go to the Eastern District. It's said that there's nothing there. Listen to me and follow me to the Western District. According to reliable sources, the Western District's red light district needs to be rewired. It just so happens that today's construction period ends there. How about it? Do you want to go? After the mission, we can have some fun. If you want to go, I'll treat you." As he spoke, Hippocampus winked at him. That place? From Hippocampus's expression, Naruto could guess what kind of place it was. As a normal man, Naruto was a little tempted. However, the scene in front of him was projected to the private meeting room through the mental link. Inside the meeting room was the director, Guru, who was responsible for the makeup, movements, and so on. "Tsk, men." Guru mocked Hippocampus. Then he changed his tone and tempted Naruto. "Master, don't go to such a dirty place. If you want." She didn't say the rest of her words, but the look in her beautiful eyes had already explained everything. Naruto's consciousness projection rolled his eyes. Do your job and stop fooling around. At the same time, Defei's private laboratory in the Great Snow Mountain Research Institute was playing the scene of Guru seducing Naruto. Clearly, Defei was using his 5-star authority to spy on him. Defei stared at the screen and muttered. According to the analysis of the soul power fluctuations, Guru was telling the truth. So Guru really wants to be boss's woman? Tizzy. Then it seems that boss has one more woman in reserve. But Guru's limbs are incomplete. It doesn't seem to be a problem. Orochimaru agreed to help Kabuto research the cloning technology. I think it won't be difficult to cultivate a perfect pair of legs. As he muttered, Defei listed Guru's name on a chart. There was a long string on the chart, and the name of the chart was Boss's Ready Wife Data Analysis Chart. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.